Today's edition of True Crime Tuesday is brought to you by BetterHelp. You could be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours, and BetterHelp is much more affordable than in-person therapy. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/darknessradio. That's BetterHelp.com/darknessradio. Welcome in to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Got a good show in store for you today, folks. I got the privilege of seeing a movie on Netflix that was #1 for 3 straight weeks on Netflix, and it's one I'm going to recommend to you. It's called Girl in the Picture, and you definitely want to get a hold of this on Netflix. Take a look at it because it's just setting the scene for a couple of books that I'm going to have you read along the way and get a better picture of what we're talking about today. It's a case that spreads over almost 30 years and has many different tendrils that go everywhere. You know, I'm reminded, and this isn't a funny thing at all. It isn't, and there's nothing funny about this story at all, but I'm reminded of a joke, actually, that I saw on a Dave Chappelle special. He said, you know, when you wanted to pick up and you wanted to just move away and get rid of your family, you just pick up, move 11 miles away and start a new family. And it would just be, you know, baby, I'm going out for a pack of cigarettes. And you'd move 11 miles down the road and you'd have a brand new family. And it kind of got me thinking about this case because there was a little bit of picking up, but it was picking up and grabbing somebody's daughter and moving down the road and then moving to another state and then moving to another state, and then reestablishing under different circumstances, and then marrying that daughter. That's right, I said marrying that daughter. And then abuse and murder. And there's a lot of other twists and turns here, folks, and we'll get into it and explain what's going on. Our guest today is Matt Birkbeck, and he has 2 books we're going to be talking about. He's also the executive producer on the movie that I saw this weekend, Girl in the Picture. We'll talk about that as well. Matt Birkbeck is an award-winning investigative journalist and critically acclaimed author. His works include The Quiet Dawn, Deconstructing Sammy, A Beautiful Child, and its sequel, Finding Sharon. Those are the 2 books that are connected to Girl in the Picture that we'll talk about today. A Deadly Secret. He's also the co-author of Till Death Do Us Part. Matt has written feature articles for Playboy, The New York Times, Reader's Digest, and Philadelphia Inquirer, Rolling Stone, and Boston Magazine, and was a correspondent for People magazine as well. He received a 2002 Investigative Reporters and Editors Award for a newspaper series called A Price Too High, in which he exposed a vast housing deception that led home buyers, many of them minorities, into buying homes at inflated prices that forced many into bankruptcy. The series led to several state and federal investigations and was cited in a 2004 congressional hearing. And while at the Morning Call, he wrote a series of investigative reports from 2006 to 2010, exposing the corruption behind Pennsylvania's entree into casino gambling, and then how Governor Ed Rendell, the state legislature and Supreme Court conspired to approve a gaming license for wealthy businessmen with long-standing mob ties. His extensive work led to the publication of his best-selling book, The Quiet Dawn, which we hope we can have him on a different time to talk about. He and his books have been featured on Dr. Oz, NBC's Dateline, ABC's 2020, and Investigative Discoveries programs, among others. He's also appeared numerous times on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Oxygen, and OWN, among others. Let's welcome to True Crime Tuesday, Matt Birkbeck. Matt, thank you so much for being on today on True Crime Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Girl in the Picture. Let's talk first a little bit about that and get some background here. And we do want to mention here, first of all, before we jump into the story, Girl in the Picture is not the be-all, end-all of this story, really. We want people just to realize that this is just going to whet your appetite. And really, after you've seen the movie, you do want to go and read Finding Sharon and A Beautiful Child. because you're just going to get the overview. You really are going to get the story, and you are going to get a complete story, but there's so much more to this story. And I found that, and just between you and I, Matt, I found that I wanted more by the time I got done watching this movie. And it's rare for me to want more when I sit down and watch a movie. And I think that's a testament, not just to the story, but I think to the fact that there's, what's a good way of putting this? To the fact that there's enough clues left there that there's more to the story, that and that there's a rich story there that I want to know more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's, Girl in the Picture is a 104-minute documentary, and it tells a story that I told in 2 books: A Beautiful Child in 2004 and Finding Sharon in 2018, which was the sequel. And the books themselves were so convoluted and so complex, particularly the first one, A Beautiful Child. And so even when we started working on this for Netflix, and I thought we were going to do a limited series and be able to tell the story, the full story, when I was told, no, we're doing a documentary, I said, how in the world are we doing that? It took us a little while to get it all together. We had a great director in Sky Borgman, but we did it. But you're right. There's a lot there that's not in it. It's not in the documentary. And people come away from it asking many questions. I get emails. I've gotten so many emails and messages from social media, from people, from viewers, and from all over the world. Within the first week, it was from Turkey and Indonesia and Argentina and Brazil and Europe. And people want to know this and people want to know that. And the answers are in the books. So, my response to them is, please read the books. And if you have any other questions, get back to me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, someone will throw me a curveball and ask me a question that's not in the books, and then I'll answer it. But for the most part, I'll tell them to read the books. But there are, you're right. There are still people have questions and are searching for answers, and that's just my standard answer is to read the books. But it is something that people come away from the fact that they're just absolutely devastated once they watch this film. And they're just completely haunted. So, yeah.
And we should mention to people, like I've said in the past couple of minutes, it really is. I'm trying to think of the best way of putting this. It is a story with feeling. It's a story that will bring you in, but it really is. I don't mean this in a derogatory way, Matt. So don't take this in a derogatory way. For me, it was like getting the cliff notes of what exactly happened in this story to condense it down to 90 minutes. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, I could see that. Again, you're telling a story that covered 30 years in 90 minutes or 100 minutes. Right. And there was so much that we had to cut out and that we could not include. And, you want your questions about it. And what's the motivation for this? Why did, it's one thing for me to want to get into this story later and want to, find this girl's identity. Or for the FBI agent that was involved early on, Joe Fitzpatrick, to want to find her identity. But then why did others want to do it long after? After my first book came out, why did other people want to get involved? Law enforcement, mm-hmm. the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and people who've seen the movie will know what I'm talking about. Why did they jump in? Right. And, it really came down to them reading the first book, A Beautiful Child, because they deal with this all the time. They deal with violence against women. They deal with missing children. And so what separates this story from a million others that they deal with? And it was the book. But it wasn't just the book, it was her. You kind of look at the book as being her, kind of like her voice. I don't want to say voice from the grave, so to speak. I don't want to get too dramatic, but, just her voice. It was her speaking to them. And they felt the same way everyone else felt about her. And that's what drove them. So I'm not sure if that came across in the film. And there are a lot of moments like that, or a lot of, motivations like that you're probably not going to be able to get across in a 104-minute film. But, given there was so many twists and turns in this story, and to get them and to tell it in a compelling way, that was probably the primary focus. And, the movie, I'll just throw this in there. The movie was, and it shocked all of us, myself, Sky, the director, our fellow producers, when we learned the next day that it came out July the 6th, and we were told July the 7th, got an email from Netflix. Congratulations. It's the #1 movie in the world on Netflix. And we were just blown away. We were just, wow. I mean, it was a pretty big moment, but we're also kind of shocked at just how quickly it just spread. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. It's a testament to Netflix and their platform. I also think it was a testament to the movie too, and yes, the fact that we, at the end of the day, I think we did a really good job in putting it together.
Well, and again, taking nothing away from the movie, it's a very good movie. It's a very compelling story, and it does almost just bring you in right away. I mean, from the first shots, and it's because there's something about Sharon Marshall that brings you in, because it is that all-American girl. And it's that girl that could be anybody. It could be your daughter. It could be that daughter who is struggling against the system and succeeding and doing very well for herself. But then can't just compete against life, Let's get to know her a little bit, and so that the audience knows what I'm talking about. When we're first introduced in Girl in the Picture to Sharon Marshall, she's not called Sharon Marshall. What is her name?
So she's Tanya Hughes, and she's found. She's a woman who's working in a strip club in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and she has an older husband named Clarence, and she has a 2-year-old son named Michael, and she's injured, and she's found on the road, and that's where the story starts. And that's, and the question is, who is she? Because she dies. I mean, we start off with her death. Mm-hmm. It's how I start off the book. We basically, after a couple of starts and stops with the film, in terms of trying to get the structure together, we basically took, the first book, and that's the first 2 acts, A Beautiful Child, and then the third act, Finding Sharon, in which we're trying to find her identity. And that's what we did. So we basically followed the books and opened it up with her death. And which is not, if anyone hasn't seen the film or read the books, it's not going to be a surprise. It's going to be right there. And then the question is, who is she? And that's the question that follows us throughout the film. Who is this girl? But then you're learning about a girl that you don't know who she is, her real identity. She had many names in her life. And as you're learning about her, you're really getting this great appreciation for her humanity against this horrific situation that she's living with this so-called husband and this so-called father. And so that's basically how we started. That's how it brings you in. And you're quickly hooked within the first few minutes. You're just quickly hooked as it's just when you think you've had the last of the twists and turns, you're hit with another one, and then another one, and then another one. And just so many shocking moments throughout the entire film.
And at first you're like, well, why am I caring about a stripper who, and this is how it starts out. You're like, okay, well, a stripper is left on the side of the road, and you're like, okay, well, this could be kind of salacious. So you're thinking you're in for a salacious story. But then what's refreshing about it is we're working our way back. And we're working our way back to find out that this girl, who in most stories is a throwaway story, and I'm not saying this to be mean or callous, but this girl that has reached a dead end, and as in almost a literal dead end, has been led astray her entire life, that she's reached this dead end. And you're finding out that she's gone through the machinations and manipulations of this quote unquote husband. You find out that this husband isn't exactly who he says he is. That this husband really is her quote unquote father, which I'm not really giving anything away by saying this. Explain to us how, let's go backwards in time here for a second, Matt. So we find out, first of all, as we're going backwards, because I want to peel the onion slowly here, and I'm not as adept at it as you are. So they find Tanya, and they're trying to figure out exactly who she is at this point. How do they identify her?
Identify her as being Tanya, or identify her as being her ultimate name?
Just identify her as being Tanya.
Oh, okay. So she's found on the side of the road and brought into the hospital. It was a supposed hit and run. And then her husband comes to the hospital. And he's about 20 years older than her. He's an odd sort. Tells the hospital, tells the nurses, doctors, he doesn't want any visitors. He even puts a sign on the door, I don't want any visitors. So it's a strange situation from the get-go. The strip club she was actually found in Oklahoma City. They had gone there. Supposedly she had a doctor's appointment. And when they find out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at this strip club, she was working at this seedy little strip club called Passions. It was just, for lack of a better word, it was a dump. Mm-hmm. But the women there loved her. One in particular named Karen. And when Karen finds out what happened, she runs to Oklahoma City and she's telling everyone that she could, that she's certain that the husband tried to kill her, that this was no accident, that this was an attempted murder, because Tanya was planning to leave him and running with her 2-year-old son. But what they find out, Sharon's in the hospital Tanya's in the hospital for about a week, and then she dies. And then in trying to find her relatives, the owner of the club, the strip club, pulls out her employment record, finds her maiden name is Tadlock, and that she was from Alabama, calls several Tadlocks in Alabama, and then finally finds one and says, I'm trying to reach the mother of Tanya Tadlock. And and this woman answers and says, that's me. And he goes, well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your daughter passed away. She was killed in a hit and run car accident. And the woman says, what are you talking about? My daughter died 18 years ago when she was just a baby. And that's when they all realized that Tanya was not Tanya. That was not her real name. And then that's where we begin this journey. Well, as I say in the film, to open it up, who the hell is she?
Right.
And that's when we start.
So obviously there's an alias there. She's not who she says she is, and they have to go backwards and try and figure out who she is. Meanwhile, the father's acting strange, the husband's acting strange. We get to the daddy part later. And it goes backwards from there, and it turns out that the husband has acted bizarre in other ways, and acted bizarre in front of her coworkers at times as well. That's caused them to, I guess, hustle quickly from town to town. But this gets unraveled slowly as we move backwards. Where's the next step from there? I mean, now the husband has taken out an insurance policy on Tanya, correct?
Correct. And he tries to cash it in. And only when he does that and he gives a social security number, he's told that that's the wrong social security number. And he goes, oh, offers apologies, gives another number, and that's not it either. He finally gives a third one, and it turns out to be the correct one. But unfortunately for him, it identifies him not as being Clarence Hughes, who we think he is, the husband. His real name is Franklin Floyd, and he's a federal fugitive, and he's been a fugitive for 17 years. And so he's arrested, and because he skipped bail when he was released from prison in 1973. He spent time in prison for bank robbery. He spent time in prison for assaulting a 4-year-old girl in a bowling alley in the early 1960s. He had been arrested for theft from I think it was a Sears store in California. He had been shot once. So he goes to prison, and the 2-year-old boy Michael goes to foster care. And Michael is a mess when he gets there. And the foster parents, Merle and Ernest Dean, have their hands full with him. But what Floyd claims that he's the father he's Michael's father. He truly is Michael's father, he says. He's in prison. He fights for custody. They do a DNA test, and they find out he's not the father.
So Michael is not the father of Clarence.
So Michael's not the son of Clarence Hughes / Franklin Floyd.
Okay.
And so over the course of the next couple of years, the Beans are raising Michael, and he's going from this very withdrawn, emotionally stunted little boy to just this incredibly beautiful, healthy 6-year-old. So we're going over a period of about 4 years now.
Okay.
During that time, Floyd gets out of prison, and he's trying to fight for custody for Michael, claiming he raised him.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's denied, he decides to do something just completely outrageous and incredible, and that is go into his first grade classroom and kidnap him at gunpoint. And he takes him out, and he takes the principal out and ties the principal to a tree. And then he goes off with Michael, and Michael's never seen again. So now Tanya, she's been gone about 4 years now, so she's dead. Michael's gone. FBI gets involved. And this is where they find this huge riddle. They learn that Tanya, and this is from a woman in Georgia who sees a news broadcast. Her name is Jenny Fisher. She says, wait a minute, her name isn't Tanya Tadlock. Her name is Sharon Marshall. I went to school with her in Atlanta, or just outside of Atlanta, and she was my best friend. And that's when we get, and this was in the mid-1980s, and that's when we get into the part of the story that originally drew me to this.
Okay. And
that is learning, because you had mentioned something interesting earlier about, this is a prostitute, or this is not a prostitute, a stripper. And she was at certain times of her life a prostitute. So whether we like to hear this or not, the question is, why am I caring about this woman?
Right.
And when you learn about her life in high school in Georgia in the mid-1980s, as we continue to so-called peel this onion, and we learn about her, we learn a whole other side of her. We're learning that she was this brilliant student in high school who lived with her father named Warren, and that she had routinely gotten all A's and B's. She was a lieutenant colonel in the ROTC, Air Force ROTC. And she was a great friend to not just Jenny Fisher, but to other students there. These are young people who are dealing with their own issues as teenagers. And now we know her Sharon. Sharon is helping them through life. In the meantime, she's dealing with this horrific home life with this so-called father of hers, Warren. Now, he's a bit of an oddball, mm-hmm. and everyone could see it. He demands that she's home by 4:00 every day to clean and cook for him. She gives him back rubs. He accompanies her on dates. But since she's doing so well in school and seems to be functioning at a very high level, okay, he's a single father. She claims her mother was killed in a car accident when she was younger. He's a single father raising a daughter. Yeah, he's kind of quirky, but look at her. Look how well she's doing. So no one, not even the teachers, look to ask, or think that there's anything wrong. That doesn't happen until a little bit later. So it's her humanity that is what really got people, which is what got me, the FBI initially, when they found out about her. It was that humanity that really just attracted her, was our attraction to her, and what got us trying to, got me to try to tell the story, and then subsequently, doesn't know who she is. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we're at. Now we're in the mid-1990s telling a story. The FBI is learning about her and going back to the 1980. They don't know where she came from. They don't know where he got her from. He won't say it. He's eventually arrested for kidnapping. Michael is gone. Well, and he will not tell the FBI or anyone else anything about her or about Michael.
All right. So at this point, Matt, why don't we take our break? When we come back, let's talk a little bit about that pursuit of who this man is officially now. We know he's not who he says he is. We know he's not Wayne, I believe is what you called him, right? Or Warren. Okay.
Warren Marshall. He's not Clarence Hughes, right?
He's not.
His real name is Franklin Floyd, and they know this. They know this pretty early on.
Okay, so we know he's Franklin Floyd. So we know he's Franklin Floyd. We know he's dangerous. We know he's done some pretty dangerous things, and we don't know what he's done with Michael. So we know that Michael is the missing piece here, which he claimed. We know at least that he's Sharon's son. He claims that that's his son, but DNA has ruled that out. But right. We don't know what he's done with Sharon's son. So when we come back, we'll find out if he's going to spill the beans and tell us where Sharon's son is. We'll find out what exactly his relationship is with Sharon and what he did, how he found Sharon, the origins of his relationship with Sharon. When we come back, we'll find out what exactly the deal is with all this. Our guest is Matt Birkbeck. His books that we're talking about here are Finding Sharon and A Beautiful Child. We'll have a link to those books in the description of the show, where you can go and get those books as well. Girl in the Picture is available right now on Netflix. We encourage you to watch that movie first and then click on the links of these books, because it's going to fill in the rest for you. That's kind of an ancillary look, Girl in the Picture is. And then go read Finding Sharon and A Beautiful Child, because those are the books that are really going to fill all this in for you and give you much more information as far as all the rest of the story, including Matt spent time with Franklin Floyd. I believe you said 4 hours with him, interviewing him, Matt?
Yeah, the first time was 4 hours.
All right. So when we come back, we'll talk about Franklin Floyd and what exactly his end game is here. And we'll do that when we come back here on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. We'll talk more with our guest, Matt Birkbeck, in just a moment. But first, our word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. In these days and times, it's so important to take care of your health. We get messages from everywhere. Take better care of your body. We get hit with the, it's good to take care of your body, your physical health. We've got a diet. You got to eat this food. You can't eat that food. Drink more wine. Drink more coffee. Don't drink as much wine. Don't drink as much coffee. Eat more eggs in the morning. Don't eat more eggs in the morning. But we don't get the messages as much about what to do about our mental health. Let me ask you this. How well would you take care of your car in your garage if you had to keep the same car for your entire life? Would you look at it a little differently? Would you change the oil a little bit more? Would you invest in parts, and good parts at that, a little bit more often? Would you treat it a little bit differently? Would you wash it more? Would you just give it an overall better treatment than you do now? Would you think of it as less disposable? That's kind of how our brains work. So, we really should treat it the same way. That brain is really a valuable organ. Really, how we care for our minds affects how we experience life. So it's really important for us to invest our time and care into keeping them healthy. And really, when we talk about overall health in America, we talk about mind, body, spirit, okay? We got the body part down. I think we're pretty body obsessed in America. We talk about the spiritual here on this program, and I think you guys get the spiritual part of everything down. But how often do we talk about the mind? There's plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language or taking power naps. Trust me, I got the power nap thing down. I get plenty of power naps. But there's also ways to straighten things out and keep things straight in our lives. And there's also BetterHelp online therapy, and that's a great way to keep things straight as far as our minds go. Let me tell you, I'll give you an example of some things kind of running around in my head that I've had to use BetterHelp for. And I've used BetterHelp now for the better part of a few months, just getting in there and trying to clean out some old baggage. You know, I've told you about some more traumatic things here on the air, and I don't generally share traumatic things, mainly because I feel like when I'm sharing traumatic things, like I'm complaining. And I've learned through BetterHelp that that's not necessarily complaining. I come from a family where if you're whining and complaining a lot, that's looked at as a negative thing. Sometimes you do need to share amongst friends. Sometimes you do need to share in appropriate places. There's that boundary too. Just a personal experience, I guess. You know, when I was 13, I had a slipped epiphysis, which is a growth problem with a hip. It caused me to go through a major loss. A lot of people, you know, when you say major loss, what most people think of death. You know, they think of losing a loved one. But a major loss for somebody could be the loss of, you know, not being able to play a sport or not being able to dance or not being able to sing. Maybe something happened where you had a talent in an area and you weren't able to do it anymore based on, you know, a physical injury or some other injury that happened that forced you out of the game. The slipped epiphysis stopped me from being able to play a game that I loved. I was pretty devastated because then now I had to go in, and at a time where the surgery was kind of archaic, they were going to basically open my hip up and put 3 pins in. Now they do the surgery where they slip the pins behind the muscle in the bone. It's kind of a complicated surgery. But back when I had the surgery back in 1984, they cut the muscle all the way down to the bone, and you had to relearn how to walk again on that hip, which essentially ended any career I thought I might have, or even enjoyment I might have had from playing football all the way up, you know, through any college level or pro level that I might have wanted to aspire to do. And I was a pretty darn good little defensive linebacker. And I really, that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. That was my aspiration. So I was devastated. And it really hurt 13-year-old Tim. That was my goal. That was my aspiration. That was my love, was to play football. And as I'm being wheeled into surgery, my sister, my baby sister Steph at the time, had given me her teddy bear to hold on to be safe, because she knew I was a little frightened by the surgery. You know, it was my first surgery. What do? You're a kid, and you're going under the knife for something other than just tonsils or something simple. This was a major surgery, and I was going to have to learn how to re-walk. That's how serious the surgery was. And as I'm about to be wheeled into surgery, I'm told by my parents that they're getting a divorce, which absolutely crushed me. I mean, I'm in tears at this point, and they're wheeling me into surgery, and a nurse asked me, "Well, honey, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" And I told her. And the nurse got irate and went looking for my parents. And that's the last I ever found out about what happened, because at that point I'm put under, and I'm being put into surgery. And it was only after I woke up I realized, oh yeah, my parents are getting divorced. And rather than focusing on healing at that point, I'm worried about, you know, whether my parents are splitting up. And that same nurse came to find me after I was in recovery to let me know that she had talked to them. But so that was a little heavy, and I had to kind of relive that and go through that whole loss section of my life and deal with loss, because loss as a youngster, especially in your teenage years, is something that follows you throughout life, and you have to learn how to deal with loss in order to move ahead in life and learn how to make gains and learn how to succeed. Because if you're always looking at loss, you can never get ahead and never learn how to gain. And that's something that I've had to learn late in life because I never grasped it in the middle of my life. But BetterHelp can help with that. It can help with certain things in life that you never thought would trip you up, which is great. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat only therapy sessions. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. Me personally, I like live chat sessions that are on video. I like to see my therapist. I like to have them here with me so we can look at each other one-on-one, and I feel like I have them in the room with me. Some people like just a chat room where they can just type and not have to look at someone so they can deal with their feelings in private. Me, I like to have a live person that I can video conference with and can actually have a conversation with. So that's my personal preference. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, which I absolutely loved as well. Hey, we're not rich here in the podcasting business. So I appreciated that it was more affordable than in-person therapy. And you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. They get to it quick, and they get you matched up with somebody so that you can get that help right away at BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/darknessradio. That's right. You're going to get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/darknessradio. That's betterhelp.com/darknessradio. Do yourself a favor, folks. Listen, you don't have to carry that baggage around with you all the time. You don't have to work this out on yourself. It's not all on you. Find a licensed professional that's going to get you over the hump. Find a licensed professional that's going to start getting your healthy brain going again, that's going to start working on getting your mind in the right space. And that's what it's about. It's about working on getting your mind in the right space for the rest of your life. You deserve better. Body, mind, spirit. Get it all aligned today. Start by using BetterHelp, and you can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/darknessradio. That's betterhelp.com/darknessradio. Do it today. More with Matt Birkbeck coming up next here on the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Our guest is Matt Birkbeck. We're talking about the Netflix picture Girl in the Picture. And our guest is Matt Birkbeck, who is you're the executive producer, Matt, correct, on that picture?
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
And also about the books A Beautiful Child and Finding Sharon, which is its sequel. And both books, we have a link in the description of this program for you to click on those. You're going to want to read those books after you've seen the picture because they do fill in a lot of the story. Of course, there's only 90 to 100, I believe it's 104 minutes. Is that how long the picture is?
Yeah, 104.
Yep. So it's going to fill in a lot of the information in that story because they only had so much time to tell the story in there. Matt, of course, covers a lot more in those two books, A Beautiful Child and Finding Sharon. When we last left people, Matt, we were talking a little bit about Franklin Floyd, the fact that now he is in custody. Michael Hughes is missing. That's Sharon's son. Sharon, of course, is dead. And Franklin's in custody. And the FBI is now trying to figure out how to get the information out of him of where Michael is. Now, the FBI finds something interesting is they're trying to make a case against Franklin as well. And they're trying to figure out how to hold him. This is a little bit of a slippery case because obviously they're trying to get Franklin on some other things, aren't they? They're trying to get him nailed down, so to speak. They know they have him on kidnapping for Michael. They don't have, and they suspect Michael is dead, don't they? At this point?
By the time they actually arrest him, he had fled. he went to Dallas, left a truck there that he had stolen. He had taken the principal's pickup truck. They traced him to Atlanta. He took a bus to Atlanta, and then they found him ultimately in Louisville, Kentucky. There was no trace of Michael after he left the school. No one knows what happened to him. So it took several weeks, and they finally arrest him in Louisville, and they bring him back, and he's not saying anything about Michael. And the FBI is trying to piece together Sharon's life, and they're getting most of their information from Jenny Fisher, her high school friend. And they find out that Sharon had gotten a full scholarship to Georgia Tech to study aerospace engineering, which was just another amazing aspect of the story. But ultimately, she gets pregnant in high school and leaves the area with her so-called father. She supposedly gives birth to that child in Texas, and it was adopted out. And no one knows what happened to that child. Michael is the product of a relationship she had when they were living in Phoenix. And then, so they know that it's not, as we said earlier, that's not Floyd's son. It's someone else. They do a DNA test with the boy that they learn who's the actual father, and they confirm it through that. But for Floyd, they're going to try him on kidnapping charges and several other charges. They're also trying, but in addition to trying to find out where Michael is, they also want to know who's this girl and where he got her from. Who was Sharon? Mm-hmm. And, it was a photograph that they find, which is in the movie and which is in the books. And this is where the FBI agent, Joe Fitzpatrick, finally puts everything together. And he gets this picture. One of the agents finds a picture that apparently they had been living, Floyd/Warren/Clarence, they had been living in Oklahoma City in 1975 under different names. Trenton Davis was his name at the time. And they find a photograph of this girl who had to be about 5 years old. And it was a father and daughter picture, supposedly. It was him with Sharon. Only if you look at the photograph, you could see something's really wrong. You could see in her eyes, she looks very unhappy, even abused. And, Joe Fitzpatrick gets this picture and he looks at it and he goes, oh my God, he kidnapped her too. And it finally dawns on them that he had taken her from somewhere and they don't know from where. So that's one of the mysteries that continues on with this story. So he's ultimately convicted. Franklin Floyd is ultimately convicted of kidnapping Michael. He claims he gave him away to some people, some friends. No one believes that. But right after Floyd is convicted, they find the truck, the principal's truck that he had used to kidnap him. They find it in Kansas. And a mechanic who got the truck finds underneath the truck, there are pictures duct taped underneath. And when he opens the envelope, he finds over 100 photographs of young girls, and many of them are being abused, including Sharon.
Oh, man.
And these were Floyd's pictures. These were his photographs, and he left them on the truck. They also find photographs of a girl who's being tortured. She's half naked and she's beaten. And Joe Fitzpatrick looks at these photographs and he sees that this girl has tan lines. And when they were doing their research on Floyd, they know based on his prior driver's licenses and names that he had used, they had lived in Tampa, Florida. Mm-hmm. And they send the photographs to Tampa, and lo and behold, they're investigating the murder of what appears to be a young woman. They found a skeleton off the side of a highway that had apparently emerged out of the ground after, apparently there was a lot of water in the area and it dissipated. And they put 2 + 2 together. They do some investigating. It turns out to be a girl that Warren/Franklin/Clarence and Sharon had lived in Tampa. And she was dancing there as a stripper. And this was a girl that she had become friendly with. And Floyd murdered her. And and did so in such a way it was just revolting what he did to this girl. And then he subsequently, it takes several years, but he subsequently tried for murder. So, this convoluted case goes from him being convicted of kidnapping Michael, no idea who Sharon it really is, and now we find another murder that occurred in Tampa, Florida.
And that woman's name is Cheryl Ann Comesso. So Cheryl is found, or her remains are found, and they matched a scrap of clothing on the body to the pictures, and that's how they draw two and two together. So they've got Floyd, I guess, dead to rights there, and so he ends up getting an additional 52 years. Wasn't that what it was?
Well, the first one, the kidnapping, was 52 years.
Oh, okay. The kidnapping was 52.
They ultimately, and that was 1995, they find, and it was during the trial. This is how crazy the story was. It was during that trial in Oklahoma City when a skeleton pops up in St. Petersburg, Florida, off the side of a highway.
Okay.
And they have no idea who it is. They call it the Jane Doe of I-275, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until a year later, Joe Fitzpatrick was going to start, once Floyd was convicted, Joe Fitzpatrick, the FBI agent, was going to begin another investigation trying to find Sharon's identity. But he stopped from doing that because of the Oklahoma City bombing. That occurs. So all the FBI agents, they all assigned to cover that for months. When Joe finally gets back on the case, that's when he sends the photographs down to Florida, down to Tampa. It was about a year later. And that's when they put 2 + 2 together. It takes several years, but Floyd is finally convicted in 2002.
Okay.
Of murdering Cheryl Comesso, and he's now sentenced to death row. And she had known Sharon at the strip club. They'd been friends. Cheryl Comesso did something that made Floyd very, very angry. It had to do with calling in Sharon over some welfare checks or something. And that's when he decided he was going to kill her. And then they left Oklahoma. They left Tampa, and they picked up new names at a cemetery. They took new names off of a tombstone, and that's when now we go back to the beginning of the movie. That's when she becomes Tanya, and that's when he becomes Clarence, and that's when he had married her.
Okay.
She had been pregnant again when they left Tampa in 1989. So just to follow the route here, okay. She's in high school in Atlanta in the mid 1980s. They end up in Tampa, and they flee Tampa after Cheryl Comesso is murdered. They get new names, go to New Orleans. Now Sharon is pregnant again with a third child.
Okay.
All right. So they don't know what happened to the first one. They have Michael. There's now a third child that she's pregnant with. And not pretending, they actually got married. And as a married couple, they give up this third child, which is a daughter, for adoption to a couple in New Orleans. And that's when they take off for Tulsa. And then they're living in Tulsa, and she's there as Tanya, working 7 nights a week, and turning over everything she makes to her husband, Clarence. Every dime she gets, she gives to him. And this continues on until April of 1990, and that's when she dies. So when Floyd is convicted of murder in 2002, that's when I had gotten involved in the story.
Now, and you got involved and started to write the first book. You, as we stated earlier in the program, you had 4 hours with Floyd where you got to speak with him. And I'm curious here, in the movie, they kind of gloss over your conversations with Floyd, which I felt like they didn't do you justice. If you have 4 hours with Floyd, there's some things that are said there, Matt. It's not like a hi, how you doing? Did you do it? Okay, great. We'll see you later. It's not that kind of conversation. I'm curious, what kind of things come up in a conversation with a man like that? Because obviously there's some psychopathy there. There's some derangement there. He's got to have some sort of manifesto he's throwing out there as to his innocence. And when you get past that, there's got to be some nuggets that fall out there. What was it that Franklin Delano Floyd says to you that you pick up from him that everything's not all right in Floyd land?
So it's a good way to put it. I had reached out to him before his trial in the fall of 2002. I got involved in this story because I was sent that photograph by someone that I knew who was a private investigator and knew I was always looking for stories to write about. I was writing for People at the time, People magazine. And she sent me the photo of Sharon and Floyd, that father and daughter story, photo that Joe Fitzpatrick had seen years earlier. And so I made a few phone calls. I called Fitzpatrick first. He filled me in a little bit on the story. I reached out to Floyd's attorney. And then once he got convicted, right after that, he calls me. And we have a couple of conversations. And then it was in February of 2003 when I flew down there to go interview him. And I was hoping for maybe 20 minutes with him just to talk to him. I ended up being with him for 4 hours, but the first 45 minutes or so, he did all the talking. Mm-hmm. He just wouldn't stop. He just started and would not stop. And so I just let him go. I tried, a couple times I tried to interrupt him. I couldn't. So I figured, you know what, let him just tire himself out. And so, he went on and on and on. Now, what was really, for me, it was fortunate in that when he was on trial for Cheryl Comesso, he represented himself and he had access, to his discovery materials since he was his own attorney, only he had them with him in prison and he had them with us in the room. So he's going through all these different files. It was, his story, how he was raised in the orphanage, all these different letters. He had, over the course of years, he had Sharon's, report cards. He had doctor's visits. He had all kinds of stuff about her. About 2 hours into the interview, he then pulls out a folder and it's photographs that he had taken when he was murdering Cheryl Comesso. And this was the part where he apparently had beaten her. The pictures are just depraved, disgusting. He had, just done things to her that no human being should ever do to any other human being. And he's showing these to me, and I'm just completely revolted. And he's trying to convince me, and the reason he's showing them to me is because he got convicted partly due to his thumb was in one of the photos on her inner thigh, and it was captured in the photo. And he's trying to convince me it's not his thumb. And then he sees how revolted I am by these photos. And he goes, oh, yeah, these are bad photographs. I mean, this is really bad what happened to her. And I just said, you know what? Time out. Let me go out and get a glass of water or something. So I left the room. I had to walk out. I got myself composed. Mm-hmm. And then I went back in there. And then we finished up over another 2 hours. He was just psychotic. There's no other way to say it. He denied everything. He had nothing to do with kidnapping Sharon. Michael's with some people somewhere in South America. He didn't kill Cheryl Comesso. He never did a bad thing in his life. Everything he ever did that he got convicted for was framed. And I'm assuming he thought that perhaps in telling me his story or giving me access to his files, which he did, he let me take them, and I gave them to the guards in the prison. And the guards, they were actually pretty cool. They actually took the files. I said, can you make copies for me? And they said, sure. And they did it. And it was a lot of files. And it was great. It was really great material that I incorporated into the book. But, there was nothing even, there was nothing redeeming about him at all. I had no empathy towards him, even though he had this difficult life. He had grown up in an orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
He was given away. He was brought there when he was a year old with his brothers and sisters. He was abused in the orphanage. Had a difficult life. I could see that, but in no way did it excuse his behavior as an adult. And we talked early on about, before we came on here, we talked about people reaching out to me and asking me questions. And some people actually had some empathy for him.
Really?
Because of how he was raised. And, I'm telling them, don't feel, an ounce towards him. He, just evil is just the one word that comes to mind when we talk about Franklin Floyd.
Matt, I got to wonder, as you're describing your conversation with him, it seems to me like there was a turning point in the conversation that could have gone either way. And I'm going to ask you this question. I know you don't have it in your nature to do, but as he's showing you these grisly, gruesome photos, had you played along and went, oh man, yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, no, yeah, that's some pretty handy work. Whoever did that, yeah, it's pretty good there. If you'd have showed approval as opposed to disgust, do you think that would have opened him up and maybe got him to confess some things as opposed to shutting him down? Because it seems like at that point, the minute you show that you're reviled, that you did show disgust, that it closed him down, that maybe he was seeking approval from you. And by not getting that approval, he himself shut down and then tried to play the shell game with you.
No, I mean, playing a shell game is what he does. Mm-hmm. And it's what he's done all his life. And so when he was showing me those photos, I was disgusted by it. I don't think I cringed or anything. I wasn't outwardly outraged by them, mm-hmm. But I think he could see, he was trying to show me this thumb and trying to tell me that's not his thumb and all of that. But he could see I was bothered. I was bothered by them. I wouldn't think for a second and you're right, it's not in me. I wouldn't think of a second of playing up to him to, agree with him in any way or, just to get him to confess. I don't think there was no way in the world he was going to confess. You could see that right then and there. It was just not part of him mm-hmm. to do that. I mean, he wouldn't even confess. He wouldn't confess about events that occurred, 40 years earlier.
Yeah.
Much less confess about this. So, I think his goal was to try to tell me his story and have me write his story. And somehow that would, he'd find a way to file an appeal. I don't know. It was bizarre because there was nothing I could do or even would do as a journalist that would free him. We exchanged letters, a couple of phone calls from prison. And I told him I wanted to come down there and talk to him. And so, it happened later on when he spoke to the FBI many years later, where I think he thought that he was going to get something out of it. And he didn't. But, there was nothing that I was going to say or do that would have gotten him to confess to a murder, to murdering Michael, to taking Sharon, and even to killing Cheryl Camesso. Mm-hmm. It was just nothing. He just wasn't built that way.
The reason I say that is because there are at times with murderers like that, they are looking for approval. I mean, from it it's a matter of vanity. Look what I did, and they do have to come out and say it in some way or another, or show that they're proud of their work. But who do you do it to? I mean, you can't tell law enforcement because they want to punish you for it. But if I tell a journalist or I tell, someone who wants to ask me questions, well, what are they going to do? You know, I mean, it's amazing sometimes how stupid the criminal element can be.
He did have one friend. He wasn't in a documentary. He was in the book. He's in the books. His name is David Dial, another really dark character. And I'm pretty certain that David Dial knew Floyd's secrets.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a theory, you know, we've always suspected Floyd of being a serial killer, that he's killed elsewhere. And, you know, we're following a couple of missing women back in the 1980s, where both Floyd and David Dial had been in the area. So it's one of the things that we're still tracking. But other than David Dial, who's dead now, but other than him, I couldn't even imagine him ever admitting anything to anybody. He just wasn't built. He just wasn't built like that.
Okay. Which brings me to my next question, and you kind of alluded to it there just a minute or two ago, and that is that in the film they do allude to the fact that a little later on there are a couple of FBI agents, and you mentioned that too earlier, that we kind of jump a little bit further into the movie with the group of exploited and missing children that kind of pop into the movie, and then a couple of FBI agents a little bit later on that aren't Joe pop in and say that, well, we showed up and we interviewed Franklin Floyd, trying to get any type of explanation as to where Michael was, or try to get a confession out of him, and we ended up making him pop. Oh, okay. Well, that kind of came out of nowhere. Can you set that up for us as to how that happened, where these two agents came from, and why they entered the picture?
So that was probably, you'll get more out of reading the books. You get a lot more out of reading the books, but particularly with Finding Sharon, because Finding Sharon explains what happened there, because we don't really kind of get to it. Kind of there's like a whole block of missing years in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up, after I interviewed Floyd in 2003, I went out and I interviewed all the other participants, Sharon's friends in high school, teachers. I went out to Oklahoma, met with Joe Fitzpatrick, met with the dancers there. I went to Tampa, went to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I made a really good friend there named Jerry Nance, who was the head of their cold case unit. And then I wrote the book, and it came out in 2004. And soon after the book came out, we started getting tips. You know, I had a website set up because the book ended with no ending. We didn't know who she was. I was hoping that we could find her identity, but we didn't. I didn't. And so the book came out, and we don't know her identity. We don't know what happened to Michael. And so the hope was people would give us tips, and we were getting tips. Only we had no way to really test them, because we didn't think we had Sharon's DNA. There were 2 vials of blood in Oklahoma City from when she had died in 1990 that they had, but everyone kept telling me and telling Jerry Nance at the National Center that it had been degraded and it wasn't worth anything. So in 2005, a year after the book came out, I got an anonymous email saying, would the DNA of Sharon's daughter help you? And this is the 3rd child that she had given up in New Orleans after they had married. And then I communicated back. It turns out this is the mother that had adopted Sharon's daughter. She tells me the daughter's name is Megan. She's in high school and she's doing great. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Okay. We kept it a secret, but she did at that time agree. I know in the movie she says it was around 2010, I think, or 2011 she gave blood. It was really in 2005.
Okay.
It was 2005. We got her to give blood to the National Center, and they did try to compare it to this blood we thought was degraded in Oklahoma City. It turns out it wasn't degraded. And it turns out we had a match. So, okay. So now we know we've got the blood. We have Sharon's blood. It goes into the FBI database, which is called CODIS. And then we're playing a waiting game for years. 2006, 2007, 2008. In the meantime, we're still getting other tips. and went on other missing girls and who this could be. So we're figuring that she was born around 1969 or so, 1970, Sharon. And we kind of compare where we think Floyd and Sharon were, how old the girl was. And the best tips was I'm sending to the National Center. And we did about 3, 4, 5 tests, and they all came back negative. So it wasn't her. So it was getting a little depressing. Unbeknownst to me, in 2011, Joe Fitzpatrick told me a little bit, but I didn't really know what was going on. Because he had been involved with me. We had been going back and forth. We're staying in touch all these years. The U.S. attorneys who prosecuted Floyd for the kidnapping of Michael Hughes, they're still involved with it. They still want to know what's going on. This new cold case investigator in 2011, Ashley Rodriguez, is given the Sharon Marshall case. She has no idea what it is. She reads the book. Like we all did, we kind of fall in love with Sharon, right? Mm-hmm. Has a reason now to want to pursue the case. She gets in touch with Joe Fitzpatrick. It was Ashley Rodriguez who puts together this law enforcement conference in Washington in 2012. And they're trying to figure out the best way to go about this. And finally, in 2013, they decide they're going to enlist the FBI in Oklahoma City. So they reach out to these 2 FBI agents, Scott Lobb, who was really actually Scott Lobb first, and he's the head of crimes against women unit in Oklahoma City. He has no idea what Ashley's talking about, because he's dealing with dozens of other cases. He goes, let me go take a look and see what we got. He goes downstairs to the FBI vault in Oklahoma City, pulls out the file on Michael Hughes and on Sharon Marshall. And in the file is the book, Beautiful Child. He reads the book. He falls in love with Sharon. So, unfortunately for all these other missing children, who haven't had books written about them or films about them or whatever, in this case, there was about Sharon, but it was also, what she had done in life that propelled her, and that humanity again that attracted people to her. And so now he knows what we're talking about. So he says, yeah, I want to do it. He brings in another FBI agent, Nate Furr, gives him the book to read. He reads it. He's on board. And they spend roughly 4 or 5 months preparing to interview Franklin Floyd. This is what they think is the best avenue to try to get him to confess, is to actually do another interview with him. And they spend 4 or 5 months, and they go in there to meet with him. Now, he's been on death row for over 10 years now.
Wow.
When they go interview him. And he's had it. He doesn't want to be there. So they actually, now in the movie, we kind of flipped it around a little bit, took a little creative license in that we addressed Michael Hughes' kidnapping first and Sharon Marshall's identity second. He actually gave up Sharon's identity first. And he tells them that her real name is Suzanne Stavakis, and that he had, when he was on the run in 1973, when he violated his parole after he got out of prison, he ended up working as a bus driver in North Carolina, and he meets a prostitute. Prostitute had 3 children taken away from her. He says, I'll help you get the kids back. He does. And gives the real name. FBI agents take the real name. They check it out. They actually find the real parents. They're still alive and divorced. And after they find the real parents, they do DNA testing to be sure. And this is the DNA off the blood that Megan had contributed to. And it's the parents. It's them. And it was amazing, the work that they did to actually do that and get him to confess. Again, they don't know why he confessed. Maybe he thought that he was going to get out of that prison and go to another prison, someplace a little bit more cozier. That wasn't going to happen. And then the story, and then the reasoning behind, how Sharon ended up in his hands is what Finding Sharon is about. Like this whole search for Sharon's identity and how he found her real name, how the FBI agents, the interviews and all of that. So we get to that part of the story, and that was remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's that part in the movie where you just, it just kind of hits you out of the blue, where they're like, yep. And we sat down with them and boom, boom, boom. And this happened, this happened, this happened. And you went, wow. I mean, all that happened just right then and there. You know, it's just shocking that he folded like that. And you're relieved a little that he did fold, at least a little bit. I mean, it's not like it was you wish he would have just given up everything.
I was shocked. Yeah. So Joe, they tell Joe Fitzpatrick, because Joe Fitzpatrick knew what was going on. But Joe calls me when he gets the word. He emails me and says, "You got to call me." So I called him, and he says they found her identity. I said, "Who?" He goes, "Sharon." I said, "No." He said, "Yeah." And he tells me her real name. I was floored. I was really happy. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this has been 2014 now. So this has been 10 years since the book came out. Mm-hmm. I was ecstatic, but I was just shocked too. But then I went out and I immediately contacted the mother, and the conversation with her was just, to me, that was shocking, because it seemed like she didn't care. She had no emotion towards it. It was really bizarre. Yeah. I was thinking she'd be thrilled. They found your daughter, or what happened to your daughter. I mean, she's dead, but what happened? So I figured, you'd be thrilled that you found out what happened. And she wasn't. It was as if, I tell people it was as if she lost a cat. Right. It was just like, Tinkles left the house and never came back. And that was kind of her reaction. It was emotionless. I found the father. His name is Cliff. I email him. He sends me this abrupt email, this curt email. It says, "I have nothing to say and never will. Don't ever contact me again."
Jeez.
So I'm like, whoa, okay. So what happened, though, is that in 2016, so 2 years later, I'm in New Orleans filming a news program for ABC on this story for the 2020, and I'm with Megan, the daughter, and I actually meet her for the first time. We had been talking over the years, but I actually met her for the first time, and it was over that period where I said, "Listen, one thing I always wanted to do was change Sharon's headstone, because it was actually the name Tanya." Yeah. In Tulsa. When I went there in 2003, my hope was that if we find her real identity, we can come back and change out this headstone. So we started talking about it then. And then we ultimately made plans to do it in June of 2017. And we invited, everyone that was involved in the story. The law enforcement agents, the U.S. attorneys that prosecuted him in Oklahoma, Joe Fitzpatrick, the FBI agent, Sharon's friends from high school. And I also, what happened though, 2 months before then, I get this email at midnight, I think it was in April of 2017, and it was from Cliff Savakis, the father. And I'm reading it, and it was so heartfelt. He was devastated by what had happened. And you see him in the film, and he was devastated. And he said, "Listen, I apologize for how I answered you, but I had just learned about this a few months earlier. I'm trying to come to terms with it. I read your book. I have been, going to see my pastor. I've been going see a psychiatrist. I've been going for therapy. I can never forgive myself for what happened to my daughter." His story was, he had married the mother. They were teenage sweethearts in high school. He went to Vietnam. When he's in Vietnam, she starts seeing somebody else. She gives birth to the daughter, but then she wants a divorce. They get a divorce, and she takes off. My understanding is that, she meets another man. She has 2 other kids with him, but then she's also subsequently apparently working as a prostitute. Okay. She loses the children to the state in North Carolina, and they reach out to him and say, these 3 girls are very close to each other. Do you want to adopt them all? We'd like to leave them together. And he says, "I can't, because I'm 23. I'm living at home. I have no money. He can't support one, much less three of them. But then he gets another letter and it says, wait, don't worry about it. She's getting married. She met someone. They're going to take the three girls together. That someone was Franklin Floyd.
Mm.
And will you give up your parental rights to her? And he gave up his parental rights, thinking he was doing the right thing. Now, you can criticize him if you want for doing that, but that was his story. Now, we didn't tell that story in the film. Like, we told his story.
Right.
We didn't tell her story, which is where we talked earlier about. I got, I've been getting a lot of emails from all over the world, and, people asking about the mother and what was her story, because there was obviously something more to it. So now this was probably the point of greatest conversation between myself and the director, Sky Borgman. Sky's take on it was, let her tell her story.
Yeah.
Even though we know what really happened, let her tell her story. And we'll let Cliff tell his story.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't really question them. And I had an issue with that, in that, I had reported in the books what really happened. I think we should tell her real story. And we went back and forth. But I think at the end of the day, it worked what Sky wanted to do in terms of her telling her real story. If you want to know more, you read the books and you'll find out. And there was pushback after as you're watching the movie, from other people that knew Sharon, who were just outraged at the fact that she didn't do more to look for her daughter. Her story was they ended up in Texas and, with Floyd, and she went to jail. She claimed for a bounced check, and that he took off with Suzanne and left the other two girls in the steps of a church, which that part was true. And then she never saw him, and then she never saw her daughter again.
I think Sky did a very good job of right after Suzanne's mother says something about, I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. My daughter was gone. And she starts with, I'm sorry, I'm going to put it this way, but I'm going to put it this way. She starts with the excuse train as to why she couldn't go out and look for her daughter. She comes in immediately with one of Suzanne's friends. I think it was either from Tampa or from Oklahoma. I don't remember which one, who says, how do you not? Oh, it was from Tampa.
It was Heather.
Yeah, it was Heather, who says, how do you not go look for your daughter?
Yeah.
I was a victim of kidnapping, and my mother went right away and looked in 5 different states for me and found me.
Yeah.
So, I give credit to Sky in that he, follows right up with somebody else who says, pardon my language, that's a line of bullshit.
Right. So that was right. That was the solution. And then Mary was included in there too, who's the adoptive mother of Megan, mm-hmm. and talking about how, there wasn't any interest on Sandy, who's the mother, on her part to connect with Megan. And they just cut that off quickly. So at the end of the day, Sky's choice was the correct choice to let, I realized that there were people who wanted to hear more of the story, and I'll agree with them. I'm a journalist, so I'm going right for the jugular. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going right for the facts. I want to tell people the facts of the story. This guy's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so I think that it was, at the end of the day, it was the right choice in terms of letting Sandy tell her story. And there was appropriate pushback from these other people and folks who really want to find out more about it. They've gone to the books. The books are in print form and as audiobook and ebooks, and that's what they've done. They've gone to the books to find out the story. But I think it works. Plus, the other question was, I think, what about Cliff? He's not, people would say, look, I feel really bad for the guy, but is he guilt-free too? If we're going to go after Sandy, if we're going to tell her entire story, is there more about Cliff?
Right.
And that was a valid argument too. And I got it. So it took me a while to get it, but I got it. And I think at the end of the day, we did the right thing.
It's interesting you bring up Cliff, because sitting watching him, you can read a lot when you watch a film, you can read a lot into somebody, especially a documentary, by just a little bit of film. You get to see a person. Mannerisms speak a lot. There's a lot of untold things along with told things. Somebody's speech, their mannerisms, the way they hold themselves, body language. You could tell throughout that entire interview, even now, you can tell he regrets his actions. But at the same time, you can also tell he's very much detached from his granddaughter. No, he's
not actually.
He's not
detached from her. No. They have a
because it came across that.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Actually, the one great thing about this story is that they have a very good relationship.
Huh.
You know, they met. I mean, it may look that way from photographs because that's the first time that they met.
Okay.
Like when we show the video, when you see the video from the ceremony, which turned out to be beautiful, by the way. I had no idea how it was going to turn out. It was just like we invited all these people. They came from all over the country to Tulsa. You know, we said be there at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. You know, it turns out that the guy you'll see him standing there, the older guy, he actually was a former chaplain for the Broken Arrow Police Department, which is the little borough that's there. And he was the guy working at the headstone firm. And he said, the company. And when he heard about the story and I sent him a copy of the book, he had asked for it. He asked if he could do the eulogy. I said, sure. And he did a beautiful eulogy. So the whole thing came together. But it was the first, Cliff showed up. He showed up from Seattle the night before. And we all went out to dinner. And it was the first time he ever met Megan. And it was awkward. It was the first time he met Megan. And Sandy's brother, the mother's brother was there, Chip. He's not in the doc, unfortunately. But he was there. And Cliff knew him, but hadn't seen him in years.
Okay.
So there was a bit of awkwardness there. And it's interesting that you take from seeing them together at the ceremony, it might be somewhat detached. It was anything but. They actually developed a great relationship.
Oh, good.
And I went to, Megan got married in November and Cliff was there. And, I went out there and, saw them and they danced together. And that was one of the really cool things about this story was seeing Megan find other members of her family. She found an uncle. She found a grandfather. She found another uncle. Yeah. Okay. So there are other members of her family. She has no relationship with Sandy. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it did work out. It did work out with Cliff.
Well, good.
So that part of the story I was really happy with.
Good. I was going to say, as far as Cliff is concerned as well, you also pull, I think from this, at least I did, I pulled from this that there really was some traumatic things that happened to Cliff over in Vietnam. You can definitely tell there's PTSD there. There's some things there that he came back with from Nam that really, for a 23-year-old guy at the time, he was not, even if he was wanting to take all three children on, he couldn't. I don't think he was in a, not just from a maturity phase, but I think from a mental health standpoint, he wouldn't have been ready to take on three children because I think he was still dealing with things from Vietnam. So
he said that too. He said he was still dealing with Vietnam. Yeah. So that was one of the reasons.
There's just no way, to try and put that on him at that time, I don't think was fair. And if anything, if you're talking about where the brunt of responsibility is as far as Suzanne goes and who's responsible ultimately for that screw up, if you want to call it that, for letting her be taken. Can you assign it to both? Sure, you could assign it to both, but you got to think that maybe Sandy's more responsible in this case. There
are even questions. So Sandy, one, you'll read about it in the books, but you won't read about it. But we didn't show it in the doc. There was a fourth child when they left North Carolina. She had given birth to a little boy,
really,
an infant. And this was, we knew him as baby Philip. It was just, hey, we think there was another boy. And the FBI didn't believe it. The two FBI agents didn't believe the story. But I got an email. No, it was a message on Facebook in 2019 when everything was said and done. And I thought the story was over. I get a message from a guy saying, hey, my father just died, and I just found out that I'm part of the story. And I'm like, what? And it turns out he's this little so-called baby Philip. His real name is Steve. And he was given up. His adoptive mother was in the hospital with Sandy. And the adoptive mother had just lost a child. She couldn't conceive. She just couldn't have children. And Sandy was in the hospital at the same time. And then after she meets Floyd just a few weeks later, she shows up at this woman's door and gives away her son and says, "Here, you want a baby? Here you go." And then they end up in Texas with the 3 daughters. And after Floyd leaves with Sharon, she goes to Oklahoma. This is from another daughter, Allison, who I had interviewed several years ago. We couldn't include her in the doctors. We just couldn't find her. She's, apparently having some issues. But she told me that her mother took her and her other younger sister, Amy, to Oklahoma, and she tried to give them away. She stopped at truck stops and tried to give them away too.
What?
So that's her story.
Jeez.
It's not good. So, and then he ended up back in North Carolina. So, there's enough blame. I don't know. I mean, I would. I mean, if you're going to cast, it's such a terrible story. I mean, no one knew. Even Sandy didn't know who Franklin Floyd was. She didn't know he was a pedophile. I mean, when he found out she had 3 daughters, I mean, there's no pun intended here, but he hit the jackpot.
Oh yeah.
Being who he was, and he just manipulated her. She was someone who was just not doing well at all in life, and he offered her a lifeline, and she took it, and it ended up the way it did, which was just completely unfortunate and terrible. But I don't know. I mean, assigning blame here. I mean, if you want to think of her, I don't know. I mean, the one villain in this whole thing is Franklin Floyd.
Yes.
He's the one constant. He just brought so much terror and turmoil and heartache to so many people.
Yeah.
And so, if there's, like I said, if there's one villain in the story, it's him.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. He put so much death, destruction, terror into people's lives. I mean, there's rape in there. There's murder. There's incest, for lack of a better term. There's so much destruction left and right, and he's without a doubt he's the boogeyman in this entire story. Folks, I think we should leave it there. I want to encourage you to go watch Girl in the Picture on Netflix, and that's just the beginning of the story. Then, by all means, follow up with those 2 books, Finding Sharon. A Beautiful Child first, and then Finding Sharon. Matt Birkbeck is the author of those two books, and we'll have a link or a link in the description. There we go, Matt. I knew I'd get it. A link in the description of this program to those 2 books, because we want you to pick up those 2 books and be able to follow up. There's so much more to this story than just those 90 minutes. I'm telling you, you're going to watch those, actually 104 minutes. You're going to watch those 104 minutes on Netflix and be like me. You're going to want to know the rest of the story. And just in the short amount of time here that we've spent with Matt, you're not going to get the entire story, and you're going to want to know more. I wanted to know more just sitting here with Matt, and I don't even have all the information I want. It does, the movie seems to me, it feels like we're skipping around a little bit to try to get all that information crammed into 104 minutes. And it's such an intriguing story as to how Floyd causes all this damage over 30 years. It's hard to say that a story that damaging is intriguing, but it is intriguing, Matt. That's for sure. That's for sure. Matt, I want to thank you so much for being with us today on True Crime Tuesday.
I thank you for inviting me, and I appreciate spending some time with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Matt Birkbeck, our guest. Again, the names of the book, A Beautiful Child and Finding Sharon. Again, we have links in the description of this program. You go ahead and get those books today. And again, Girl in the Picture is on Netflix currently, and you can watch that with your Netflix subscription. It's time now for us to bring in Beer City Bruiser, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again, that time you've been waiting for all week long. On a Tuesday, it's Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. It's me, Timmy D, Tim Dennis. Right over there is the BCB, the Big Cuddly Bear, Beer City Bruiser. Bruiser, it is DCSC, Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals. They don't come any dumber, they don't come any stupider, and they've got their own rationale as to what they do, why they do, and when they do it. We're going to tell you all about it today. We have got some interesting stories of that, my friend.
Oh, I love when you say that. I mean, it's going to be a very entertaining day.
Oh, yes, it is.
I'm glad there's no lack of stupid criminals out there.
Yes, indeed, my friend. This first guy, the man is doing it to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not his fault at all. It's 100% the man's fault.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not his fault.
Well, in his head.
Yeah, in his head, maybe, yeah. A reputed gang member is facing a felony for uploading rap music and a rap music video to YouTube.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I thought that's what YouTube's for. Isn't that how we get YouTube stars? Like, what is that, Jake Paul or Logan Paul or whatever?
Or both of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, normally if you don't have a felony behind you, it's okay. Yeah.
So I can't film myself robbing a bank and then upload it on YouTube and expect to go viral.
Well, I think it has everything to do with how you make your money and whether you can make money, especially behind jail.
No, that's true. You can't. They made that clause after, what was it, John Wayne Gacy was making money off his paintings.
Yeah. A reputed Florida gang member is facing a felony charge for uploading a homemade rap video to YouTube. Court records show. Tito Bernie, which is not the best rap name ever.
That's a horrible rap name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They call me Tito Bernie. Is a member of the St. Petersburg Auburn Park crew.
So it's Florida.
Yeah, it's Florida, of course.
Good for him.
According to police, who Tuesday arrested the 26-year-old on multiple felony counts, Bernie is locked up on $80,000 bond.
Oh, jeez.
Tell me who you think he looks like, by the way. If I give you a shot here, can you see him?
Yeah, he looks familiar, actually.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'll tell you in a second. Just give it a little bit of a longer stare.
Yeah, he looks very familiar.
Xavier Woods.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. His
I
face.
can see it.
Yeah, his face is very much Xavier Woods. Citing a law barring criminal gang electronic communication.
So you can't talk to... Wait. So you can't text your gang buddies? How do they communicate?
Well, you can't. So evidently he's throwing gang messages into his raps and communicating with gangs via electronic means, public means.
Isn't that how the hardcore, when it was East Coast, West Coast, isn't that what they did, was throw in the Crips and the Bloods? I mean, I'm new to this whole rap game, so.
Yes and no. They talked about the lifestyle, but specific.
They never really said.
Yeah, they didn't say it's going down with Big Blue Joe at 6 o'clock at the at the 7-Eleven. You know,
so this guy ordered a hit or something. He ordered something through his rap music.
Exactly. Yeah. So, citing a law barring criminal gang electronic communications, police collared Bernie for posting "Ain't Duckin' No Wreck" to YouTube in mid-February. The 221 rap song, which has been viewed about 2,100 times, so it really didn't get a lot of views.
That didn't go viral at all.
No. And has garnered 4 comments, is one of 3 videos on Bernie's YouTube page, which has 237 subscribers. He ain't what the kids say is blowing up.
Yeah, no, he's not.
No.
I think if I filmed my dog taking a shit and posted it, it'd get more views.
Ziggy would be viral before Bernie is. That's for
He
sure.
would be.
Yeah. Police allege that the song contains lyrics that are being utilized to benefit, promote, or further the interest of the Auburn Park gang and intimidate or harass other persons. Specifically, a police detective in an arrest affidavit noted that Bernie rapped about handling beef with firearms and spoke of doing a drive-by shooting with a Tech-9 submachine gun. In the video, which was filmed outside a St. Petersburg food market, Bernie, who is wearing a balaclava and Lacoste t-shirt, I don't know that means anything.
Like the Greek dessert baklava?
Yeah.
That stuff's amazing.
Appears to be holding real firearms. Well, what does that have to do with anything?
It didn't have the orange cap on it to prove it's fake.
Yeah, to prove it's fake, right. Detective Michael Bletch alleged when Bernie was apprehended Tuesday evening on the rap video count, he was allegedly carrying a stolen Beretta handgun, which allowed cops to charge him with 3 additional felonies. Bernie's rap sheet includes convictions for criminal mischief, grand theft auto, possession of drug paraphernalia, obstructing police, trespass, heroin possession, fleeing law enforcement, ecstasy possession because you got to get it in while you can, and firearms possession by a convicted felon.
All he needed to do was rob somebody and he would have had the whole gamut.
Yeah, he pretty much would have spanned the whole entire booking sheet. So.
Yeah, I think he was trying to win criminal bingo there.
It's the cover the whole card game.
Exactly. It's a complete blackout. All he left out was murder and robbery.
Yep, exactly. Huh. Yeah, you called that one, Bruiser. That's for sure. We move on. We go this time to, well, not too far down the road, Escambia County, Florida. Escambia County, Florida, but it's in New Orleans, man. So it's kind of a continental crime?
So it's a vacationing Florida man?
I guess. 51-year-old man from New Orleans stands accused of pouring bleach on a woman as well as sexually assaulting and beating her. Jeez.
Well, he I don't know, maybe he went and thought that she wasn't clean?
Yeah.
COVID nowadays sure did change the way you pick up a prostitute.
Yeah, that is not a way of sanitizing people. According to WKRG TV, the victim told police Rodney Hunt was acting erratically on August 1st because she would not do drugs with him. Hunt reportedly forced the victim to take a meth pill, that's in quotes, and splash her with mop water on the back patio. Not a way to make friends and influence people.
That's not foreplay.
No. According to a report obtained by WKRG in Cincinnati, the victim told authorities Hunt poured a whole bottle of bleach on her. Then he grabbed a mop and began hitting her on the face multiple times. Hunt allegedly forced the victim to undress and perform a monkey walk. What strange weirdo is this?
This guy's got some weird fetishes.
Yeah. Additionally, Hunt reportedly hit her multiple times with the mop and his fist and forced the end of the mop handle inside her anus.
Oh, that's not fun. That's not fun.
The victim told authorities Hunt ordered her to scrub her genitals until they were raw on camera.
Oh, gosh. There's something seriously wrong with this guy.
Yeah. The report obtained by WKRG alleges that Hunt hit the victim's genitals with a stick and shaved parts of her head. Hunt reportedly told the victim to tell the police a man in a red truck inflicted the injuries on her. Following the incident, the victim slept in the woods.
So wait, he thought just asking her, hey, between you and me, I didn't do this. Some guy in a red truck came by, like, we're good, right? I know I stuck this up your butt. I know I shaved the wrong part of your body, but we're good, right? Like, you're clean now. You're COVID free. We're good, right? And she went, sure? And he believed her.
Yes. Following the incident, the victim slept in the woods. When she went to the home the next morning, August 2nd, to go to sleep, Hunt wouldn't let her in.
Why did she go back?
And a passerby eventually called 911. According to WEAR-TV, the investigators met with the victim, and the description of her story matched the injuries she endured. A search warrant was reportedly executed for Hunt. He was found inside the home and then taken into custody. During an interview, Hunt admitted to assaulting the woman with the mop handle and pouring bleach on her. The victim will likely suffer permanent disfigurement of her skin from the bleach.
Oh, that's too bad.
On Wednesday, Hunt was booked into Escambia County Jail on how much bond, Bruiser?
I'm going with $50,000 bond. Higher?
Yeah, higher.
Let's go $500,000 bond.
No, lower.
$300,000 bond.
I'll give you one more.
$150,000 bond.
You're so close. $105,000. He was reportedly charged with sexual battery. That was the charge on that one.
And I bet you he's done it before, and there's other victims out there. They just haven't come forward.
More than likely there is. Yeah, especially...
he's 51. This doesn't happen overnight. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. In another gruesome one, guys, brace yourselves. A man's skin melted off after his girlfriend set him on fire during a fight at a Texas gas station.
Oh.
The one place you never want to get into a brawl, at a gas station.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to be on fire at a gas station.
No. A Texas woman turned 50 cents worth of gasoline into a deadly weapon. It's the first time 50 cents ever been called dangerous. I'm just saying. By setting her boyfriend on fire at a Texas gas station and melting the skin off his body, police in Texas say.
How much gas is that with gas prices nowadays? 50 cents is not a lot of gas.
It's about a palmful.
Yeah. She literally squirted it in her hand and threw it on him.
Yep. 25-year-old Ricky Doyle, who is the boyfriend, died on Tuesday in a Dallas area hospital from burns he suffered in the horrific July 18th attack, according to the Arlington Police Department. Doyle and his girlfriend, Brianna Johnson, were arguing at a Shell gas station in Arlington at the time. I'm going to kill you, Johnson was heard telling him. According to a police affidavit, the 24-year-old Johnson went inside the gas station and paid for exactly 50 cents worth of gas.
Oh, she prepaid. Good for her.
Yeah. She was later seen pouring gasoline on Doyle while he sat in the back seat of a Jeep. She then walked around to the driver's side and set it on fire with an unknown object.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Doyle was engulfed in flames.
Yeah.
When he was seen escaping the vehicle and running through the parking lot, trying to stop his body from burning.
Stop, drop, and roll, man. Stop, drop, and roll. Does that work with gas? I think it does.
I don't know. That's a pretty hard, pretty hard accelerant to try that with. Another customer came to his aid with a fire extinguisher, but by then, witnesses said Doyle was bleeding and had skin that appeared to have melted off his body. That according to a police charging document. While witnesses were trying to help Doyle inside the gas station, his girlfriend told bystanders that she was smoking while pumping gas, and that's why the fire started.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
So you went from here, your gas tank, somehow it flew into the back of the Jeep on your boyfriend? No.
But witnesses didn't buy Johnson's story and confronted her, telling her they saw her intentionally set the fire. One witness even tried to detain her before police arrived, but Johnson pushed the person to the ground and drove away while smiling. That according to the police report.
This reminds me of something that happened the other day. I pulled up to get gas at a gas station, and a lady gets out of the car with a cigarette in her mouth, not lit. And she goes to proceed to pump her gas, and she looks at me and goes, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to smoke in front of the pump." And I said, "Well, that's a good thing."
You're goddamn right you're not.
Yeah. Well, she leaves her car and goes in front of the building to light up her cigarette. She was standing in front of the propane exchange.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, she was smart enough to know not to do it at the gas pump, but a complete idiot and went and did it in front of the propane exchange.
What the?
Like, you see the manager of the gas station come running out, and her excuse was, well, I'm not in front of the pump. Where can I smoke?
Nowhere.
Exactly. Go in your car and drive away.
You're at a goddamn gas station. There's flammables everywhere.
Yep.
Wait a minute.
And then she had said that propane won't hurt anybody because the metal canister keeps it inside.
Really? So there can never be a leak out of one of those canisters?
I guess not. I don't know. I literally got in my car. I didn't fill up my car all the way. I just put it in my car because I'm like, this lady's going to murder somebody. Like, she's going to blow somebody up. And I immediately came home and told Mrs. Bruiser about it. And she looks and goes, that's sad. That's sad.
Future Darwin Award winner, I see.
Yeah, I have a feeling she'll be on our show sometime.
I'm sure. Getting back to this story, Johnson was arrested in July, initially charged with aggravated assault and bodily injury with a deadly weapon. Now that Doyle has died, Johnson is charged with murder. She's currently being held at the Tarrant County Jail, as she should be. So,
yep.
There you go.
She can't get no gas in prison.
No, that's for sure. Well, they may find some and give her the same treatment just to show her how it feels. We're moving on. It turns out that a drug suspect that was caught in the act assured cops that, hey, cops, meth is legal now. I'm glad to hear it.
The law was just passed, huh?
I guess.
With everything going on in Washington, that's the law that got passed, huh?
Yep, that's, there's a lot of legislation. You bring it up, Bruiser, and you're absolutely right. A lot of legislation's being passed now in this current session. Yep. Bills are passing left and right. We don't know exactly what's in those bills. You know what? It turns out that 31-year-old Enzo Zabala Cardozo could be right. It could be that he's so up on the law right now that he's seeing things that we're totally just glossing over. And
I think he might have been in person when they signed the bill, and they just haven't made it public yet.
He could be a legislator, and we may not know that.
He could be.
He could be. Meth is legal now. That's the quote, according to 31-year-old Enzo Zabala Cardozo. God bless me. Florida cops who caught him, of course he's from Florida. Of course he is. They caught him glass pipe at his lips, attempting to light up early on the morning of August 4th.
Don't worry, it's legal. He's taking his medicine. It's legal.
That's right. As he went to play a little meth solo on his glass pipe in front of cops, he said, "Don't worry, meth is legal." He did that.
Oh, if you say that, then yeah, you're right. I'm bad.
And of course, it was so legal, Bruiser. He was doing this in the alleyway in St. Petersburg.
Oh, of course.
Because
it's only legal in alleyways. You can't do it in public.
That's right. Because all good legal citizens do their meth in an alleyway in St. Petersburg, not on their front porch as you would think they would do if it were legal.
Hey, at least it wasn't at a gas station in front of the propane thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Upon spotting police, Zabala Cardozo began walking away because why not? He doesn't. Well, you know what it is. He's being considerate. He doesn't want to get meth smoke in the cops' lungs.
He knows that the cops have to get drug tested,
right?
And he doesn't want them to get the residual.
Yeah.
And Tim, not only is he a legislator, like in part of our government, but he's also a defense attorney.
Yes. Yeah.
So just leaving is fine. Every defense attorney will tell you that when the police come to question you, just leave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Leave the scene
after you tell them it's legal what you're doing.
Right. Exactly.
You have to state what you're doing is legal. Then you can leave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Hey, coppers, not only is it legal, but I don't want to get this in your lungs. Hey, let me take a little walk down the street. Better yet, let me get far away from you quickly so that it doesn't get in your lungs. I'm going to take a quick jog."
Well, he's just thinking of health.
He is. He's such a caring guy. Upon spotting police, Zabala Cardozo began walking away, but not before declaring that meth is legal now. He did not offer further details as to when lawmakers legalized use of the highly addictive stimulant. As it turns out, however, meth possession is still a crime in the free state of Florida. As such, Zabala Cardozo was was busted. He was hustled as well on a felony drug possession charge and a misdemeanor count of resisting police. Zabala Cardozo was booked into the county jail. Guess how much his bond was there?
$10,000.
Oh, not that much. No.
$5,000. $2,500.
You're close.
Okay.
$2,150.
Okay.
Yeah. And at the time of his 3:50 a.m. arrest, that's right, he was out for an early morning stroll.
Well, he had an early shift at the McDonald's there.
That's right. Or it was a very late night, one or the other.
Yeah.
On that Thursday morning, Zabala...
Well, you don't sleep well when you're on meth? Come on. What kind of meth are you doing?
No, he had the extra caffeinated meth that morning.
Okay.
Zabala Cardozo was free on bond in connection with his arrest in late May for possession of meth and drug paraphernalia. Surprise! Zabala Cardozo's rap sheet includes multiple convictions for narcotics possession. There's a shock as well as convictions for trespass, disorderly conduct, obstruction, and assault. So turns out he's not the nicest guy in the world, I guess.
I can't wait till he's in front of the judge and the judge is like, so another meth possession, huh? And he goes, yeah, but judge, honestly, I swear to God, my buddy told me it was legal. He said the other day we were out, I said, I got to smoke some meth, but I got to hide. And my buddy said, no, if you go in the alleyway, it's perfectly legal. Just tell the police, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So it's not my fault, Judge. It's my buddy's fault. He lied to me.
Just let him know. Yeah.
He pranked me. Mm-hmm. I was waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come on and say, oh, you're unpunked.
Speaking of celebrities that let you know that things are perfectly legal, I understand that sometimes people do have some mental issues and they hear voices that tell them to do things. Obviously, we don't want to listen to those voices.
No.
We don't want to.
Sam was listening to him, and look what he did.
Yeah, we don't want to listen to those voices. We don't want to get in trouble. Should we ever get a real celebrity that tells us to do things that are not good, that are bad, that are evil, we still don't want to listen to those celebrities.
No, definitely not.
So the PSA for today on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, from the Cruiser and the Bruiser to you, should a celebrity come up to you and say, fatally stab your mother? The answer is no, Ryan Seacrest, no. I'm not going to fatally stab my mother. Whether it's actually Ryan Seacrest or it's just Ryan Seacrest in your head. Okay?
It's like you're listening to the top 40.
Yeah, you're listening to America's Top 40 with Ryan Seacrest, and Ryan Seacrest says, hey, you know what? Coming in this week at number 3, it's Lady Gaga and Stab Your Mother. No, we don't listen to that voice. No.
Not listening to that. Okay.
No.
We have to decide which is telling us the big hits on the radio and which is telling us to murder our mother.
We don't even listen to that voice that says murder your mother.
Right. Yeah, we have to figure out which is real.
Right.
And I'm leaning towards the music one's real and the American Idol one, right? That's the real one.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You
think this guy just really wanted to meet Ryan Seacrest and that's why he said it?
Maybe.
They got to interview Ryan Seacrest and go, hey, did you say this?
Right. Let's explain.
Okay. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
We go to Indiana where a man is accused of fatally stabbing his mother because Ryan Seacrest told him to. Now, again, disclaimer, mental issues, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we wish the man all the best and that he gets help for these issues.
Oh, definitely.
Because I don't think Ryan Seacrest left the set of Ryan and Kelly and told this man to do this.
Yeah, I don't think Ryan Seacrest is visiting Indiana too often.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure he's got an affiliate there.
He might, but I'm just saying, maybe once a year he shows up to show face.
Who knows? Maybe Ryan Seacrest gets a kick out of killing moms. I don't know. I don't know Ryan Seacrest. I can't speak for him.
His Wikipedia page doesn't say that.
No, I mean, he may have some odd hobbies, but I'm sure he doesn't.
Okay.
But
Ryan Seacrest loves... Well, yeah, he loves all mothers because they listen to him.
Sure, but you never know. I'm just saying.
Everything he puts out, he loves mothers. He's got to love mothers. That's like 90% of his income.
Yeah, you would think, but you never know.
Okay.
But I'm just saying it. More than likely, this is a mental health issue, and we wish that
I agree.
This man find help. But in that he gets the help he needs. But if it isn't, maybe he's got an odd hobby.
I do gotta say it's creative of the voices to become Ryan Seacrest. It's not really a celebrity you really think of telling you to murder people.
Oh, I would guess that.
Like who was it? Jodie Foster told the one guy to shoot the president or whatever in Taxi Driver. Henley, is that what his name? Hinckley?
Yeah, John Hinckley Jr.
Yeah, like it was her, right? She was the one that's saying, "Do this for me."
I think in his head.
Yeah. No, he again had problems.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster didn't actually tell him that.
No. We go to Muncie, Indiana. A 28-year-old man allegedly fatally stabbed his mother because Ryan Seacrest told him to. According to the Muncie Star Press, on Sunday, July 31st, shortly after 9 a.m., 61-year-old Sandra Armstrong called 911 and told dispatchers that her son, Myron Armstrong, had stabbed her in their home on the 1000 block of North Burn Street. The victim was reportedly transported to a hospital via ambulance where she was pronounced dead. The victim's son was found walking away from his mother's home as responders arrived. He was reportedly taken into custody and questioned. Myron Armstrong told police, "I stabbed my mom," and he also stated that Ryan Seacrest told him to stab his mother. According to court documents obtained by WXIN, Armstrong reportedly said, "I am God," and that he was dead inside.
Oh.
Yikes.
Yeah, this took a weird turn.
Yeah. Upon further investigation, police learned Armstrong used a knife from the kitchen and went into the bedroom to stab his mother. He reportedly told authorities that he was relieved it was over. Armstrong allegedly dropped the knife after stabbing his mother before walking outside. Armstrong was arrested and booked into Delaware County Jail for murder. He remains held without bond. So, yeah, he definitely needs to get some help.
Yeah. So. There's some mental issues underlying there.
Following up on that, a dentist who allegedly told his girlfriend, "I killed my effing wife for you," is found guilty of murder. Oh. As he probably should be.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. We go to Denver, where a 67-year-old man was found guilty this week of killing his wife during a safari in 2016 and cashing out on a hefty life insurance claim. According to the Associated Press, a jury in federal court convicted Lawrence Larry Rudolph of first-degree murder and mail fraud for the death of his wife, Bianca Rudolph. The trial reportedly lasted 3 weeks, and the jury deliberated for a day and a half. His attorneys plan to appeal. Rudolph's girlfriend, Lori Milliron, I believe, was found guilty of obstruction to a grand jury, accessory after the fact of murder, and 2 counts of perjury before a grand jury. The Associated Press reports Bianca Rudolph died from a gunshot blast to her chest, but Larry argued she shot herself accidentally while he was in the bathroom.
How do you shoot yourself in the chest?
With a shotgun.
Yeah. Like you have to stick your arms way out, and that's just too much work.
It's pretty tough to do.
Yeah. There's faster ways if you want to do it yourself. He should have killed her in a way that he could have said it was suicide.
Yeah. His attorneys claim she was packing the gun as they were getting ready to leave Zambia and head back to the United States, where she dropped it and it went off, or when she dropped it and it went off. Prosecutors, however, said it was impossible for her to shoot herself because the shot had to have come from about 2 to 3 feet away. Authorities in Zambia reportedly determined her death was accidental, and the insurers, who eventually paid Larry nearly $5 million in life insurance, agreed.
Wow. Well, yeah, the insurance people don't really care. I mean, they'll look into it, but they don't go as hardcore as like the FBI.
Yeah, that's for sure.
How do they think it was an accident? Like, that just blows my mind that they bought, she dropped the gun and it went off.
I'm sure that somebody in Zambia was paid off to...
Yeah, this guy sounds like he's pretty rich if he's taking a safari to Africa.
The Rudolphs reportedly had an open marriage, meaning they could have relationships with other people. Bianca Rudolph reportedly knew about her husband's relationship with Milliron, who worked as a hygienist in his dental office. According to the Associated Press, prosecutors said Larry was angry because Bianca wanted more power over their finances and told him Milliron had to be fired. Prosecutors reportedly said in their opening statements, a witness heard Larry tell Milliron, "I killed my effing wife for you." I almost said the word. Larry testified he told Milliron he found out the FBI was investigating his wife's death and said, "They're saying I killed my effing wife for you." CBS News reports the FBI investigation began after one of Bianca's friends called an FBI attaché office in South Africa to report the death as suspicious. The friend reportedly told the FBI that Larry Rudolph was in another relationship, and she found it odd that he had his wife cremated immediately after her death. She added that Bianca was Catholic and did not believe in cremation.
No, she's trying to hide the evidence.
Whoops. U.S. Attorney Cole Finnegan said in a statement regarding the convictions, "We are thankful for the jury's diligence looking at all the evidence in this case. Bianca Rudolph deserved justice. This case was an exceptional example of the entire U.S. Attorney's Office pulling together with our law enforcement partners to uncover the truth and seek justice for a victim who had no other voice. Larry Rudolph could face up to life in prison."
See, this is just another example why I don't have a girlfriend along with a wife.
Along with the fact that the wife probably wouldn't accept it. I mean,
no, she wouldn't. I love my wife,
yeah.
But it's just like, how do you find the time and the energy for two or more?
Well,
you know
it's got to be a full-time hobby. I mean,
it has to.
You probably can't watch as much baseball. Just saying.
Yeah.
Probably can't have two pets.
No.
Just saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the energy now when I have two pets and watch baseball.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You probably have to drop the pets and the baseball if you're gonna have.
I couldn't do that. Then it was an open marriage, so the wife knew about. He didn't have to hide anything. Can you imagine trying to hide a girlfriend on this? That's just too much work.
That'd be pretty tough. Yeah,
it would be. I'm too old for that.
Look at you, Bruiser. You're just giving up, man. I mean, don't be a quitter.
I told my wife, we had that conversation. If one of us passes away, the other one should move on. Yeah, that whole thing. And I says, no. And she goes, why? Because you love me that much? I go, I do love you that much, but I'm also really lazy. She goes, what? I go, I couldn't do the dating scene nowadays. I couldn't go sit in a bar and pick up a woman. I couldn't Tinder or Bumble or Google or whatever the TikTok thing is. Like, I'm
the
just
TikTok thing.
And this is just proof right here. Like, this guy, shot his wife or his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Plus, can you imagine with it coming from both ends? Like, one of them's in a bad mood, and then they both get it's just too much.
That's the thing. I actually know, I don't know if I could say this person's name or not, but I know of some people that have multiple wives.
The polyamorous, is that what that is?
Yeah, well, yeah, the multiple wives, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
see, that just blows my mind. Like,
yeah.
I watched a documentary on that sweet guy from the Mormons. He had 27 wives. How did he have the time?
I don't know how you do it. Because, first of all, I mean, it's tough enough if you have, like, say, a wife and a daughter, or a wife and a couple of daughters. I mean, it's men have only so much, and close circuit to you ladies, men only have so much when it comes to empathy and sensitivity. We only have so much of a well, and then that well runs dry, and then we need to go somewhere. We just, whether it's the back of the yard into a shed or into a garage or just away for a while so we can just hear nothing but silence.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Nothing but silence.
You forget I have 3 daughters and a wife, so.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank God. That's why my son and I are so close.
Yeah.
Because they get to that point where, hey, bud, you want to go throw the baseball in the backyard?
Exactly. So we need to throw a ball. We need to work on an engine. We need to read something. It doesn't matter what we're doing. Go out with a pet, go drink a beer, go smoke a cigar or a cigarette. It doesn't matter what it is. We just need to go to a corner of a yard where it's quiet and not hear anything anymore. And it's not you. We love you.
Yeah.
We've only got so much in the tank, and then we can't do it anymore. But can you imagine having, two queen bees under the same roof?
See, that's the thing too, is how do you not play favorites?
Yeah, you can't.
No, because that's natural human emotion. When you get a group of people, two people will be attracted, or one will favor the other. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is. You watch any group activity, you always have two people, they form, I don't want to say cliques, but you know what I mean? Like, there's favorites.
You would think there has to be a hierarchy, right?
There should be, yeah.
There has to be a ranking system. So the two are going to butt heads, and then they're going to look at you. And they're going to say,
you're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. There's just no way. Someone's gonna die in that scenario.
Yeah, well, look what this guy did. He ended up shooting his wife.
Yeah. So, it's just,
Yeah. I love my wife, but when she's gone, I'm single. I have my puppy. I have my cat. I have no energy for it.
So what happens when you get lonely? I mean, it's bound to happen. You're going to get lonely on occasion.
Yeah, I got a puppy and I got my cat.
I mean, you're going to get lonely for affection. What's going to happen then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm weighing the want for affection and the need to go out in public to find that affection, which is, like.
I mean, who says you're not going to want a home cooked meal and a snuggle? I mean, what's and I'm not talking teddy bear from the softener commercial either.
I can cook.
Well, I know you can't be a big boy and not cook, but I'm talking I'm talking courses.
I don't know. I don't know. Thank God my wife won't pass away for a very long time. So hopefully I go before her.
Okay. All right.
Then I don't have to worry about this.
Well, Bruiser, we're at that point, I think, where we can break out so I knew a murderer or I knew a serial killer. Let's do this. Let's fire up the theme. We got a theme here. Let's do this. It's kind of a longer theme, so we'll just let it play here because there's some whispering that comes in here.
I like this theme.
Longest theme I've ever made. Probably could shorten that a little bit. Yeah, anyway, so I knew a murderer. You got a letter.
Yeah, this comes from Australia, actually. This person wishes to rename anonymous, and I'll explain why at the end. Okay. So we will respect that, and they will be anonymous. But it goes with this person is also an underwater needle pointer.
Oh, all right.
So the story, it says, I'll skip the opening. This talks about how great we are and catching up on old episodes. But here's the story. It says, got a story you might enjoy. 8 or 9 years ago, early into my wrestling training, I was working at a grocery store to help pay for it, which I get because wrestling is expensive and your gear is expensive and all that. Mm-hmm. I was there like 6 years. And the first 3 or 4 years, I do the closing shift. The shift manager at the time was a mean-looking, covered in dark tattoos woman. She would be the one I'd report to if needed every night shift. She was weird. She made real dark jokes, had random creepy-looking visitors at weird hours, and could get into really foul moods. Well, long story short, a disabled boy went missing in my town, and it was all over the news. Well, around the same time, my manager stopped showing up to work, and nobody knew where she went. The story went a few days until one day, an army of cops showed up to my work and shut the place down. We were told to leave and not to speak to any of the reporters on the way out. Turns out my manager had been the one that murdered the kid, buried him in the backyard under concrete. Her and her partner had a plan to become serial killers, but obviously didn't get very far. I'll try to find some news articles if you're interested. Feel free to tell on the show. Just avoid my name because who knows when she'll get out of prison. All this happened in Western Australia. Love the show. Big fan of your work. All the best, mate. Sorry for the long message. No, thank you for the message.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. I like how he says right off the bat, like, creepy vibes.
Creepy vibes. And that's I Knew a Murderer. See how we do that? We kind of open it with a theme. We close it with a theme.
I like it.
Yeah. We'll just kind of fade that down. See. Production elements, Bruiser.
Look at this.
Production elements.
Look at
you
that.
gotta love it.
Thank you for the story, though. That had to be creepy, though. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Wow.
Like every night, this person had to see that person, and then the boy missing, and they're gone, and it's wow.
Ugh.
And then having to be scared because they might get out of prison.
Yeah. To know that they're just around the corner at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is scary. You know what else is scary?
What's that?
Again, people drunk driving golf carts and in carts at Walmart. I'm telling you, there's a spate of it now in Florida. I'm afraid to go to Florida. I'm afraid to go back and see my relatives.
The Florida state car is a golf cart.
I think
everybody has a golf cart in Florida.
They do. Well, you know, it's because one, you got a lot of seniors down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And two, you got a lot of drunk people down there that don't want to get DUI. So they think if I just drive this golf cart or this cart from Walmart out into the parking lot and eventually get it home, I think they'll forgive me.
Nope.
Florida woman allegedly drove a golf cart drunk, but started passing out on the state's busiest highway.
Oops.
We go to Brevard County, Florida, where a 58-year-old woman was arrested after she allegedly drove a golf cart drunk onto a freeway and refused to comply with law enforcement officers' orders. That's when it's fun.
So that golf cart can go from 0 to 6 miles an hour in under 3 seconds?
Yeah. If you get a good one, you can get it a good 10, 15 miles an hour.
Yeah. Still not freeway speeds.
It's a good low-speed chase for most officers.
It's OJ all over again.
It is. According to Diane Hawk's arrest report on July 30th, Florida Highway Patrol Officer W. Mesa Nunez received a call on Interstate 95 about a golf cart driving northbound near mile marker 167. Ooh, 95 is a hard highway to negotiate as it is.
Yeah, it is.
But then to be racing with a golf cart, that's even worse. When the patrol
drunk on top of it.
Yeah, right. When the patrol officer arrived, they reportedly saw a semi-truck on the right shoulder of the freeway near a white golf cart. Mesa Nunez reportedly spoke with Brevard County Deputy Van Camp, who walked Mesa Nunez to the golf cart. Evidently, it was going that slow.
Excuse me, could you please stop? I'd like to talk to you. No, seriously, could you please stop? This is getting exhausting. I'm following you on my feet. Please pull over.
Hold on, I'll get there. Hold on. Okay, wait, I'm going to stop. Hold on. All right, I can't. I can't.
This cop's fast. Look how fast this guy is.
Are you the Flash?
You're running on the freeway. You know it's illegal, right?
I love you on TV. I watch you every week.
Cops is my favorite show.
Mesa Nunez said Hawk seemed disoriented and argumentative. Get out of here.
Of course.
Really.
She's an angry drunk.
Yeah. And when Mesa Nunez asked for her ID, Hawk allegedly handed over a restaurant card. Yes! Would you punch my card down? They have one more before I get a free Rio Grande.
You guys take this and tell them I sent you.
Mesa Nunez reportedly repeated the request, and Hawk offered a credit card at that point.
Oh, okay.
I say take the credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a restaurant card and a credit. She's just trying to buy you lunch.
That's right.
That's what that is.
That's exactly what it is. When asked why she was driving on I-95, reportedly the busiest in the state, it's the busiest highway, by the way, Hawk allegedly said she needed to go somewhere, and it was legal because she saw it on the news.
Hey, at least she had an excuse, unlike our meth guy, of how she thought it was legal.
Yeah.
The meth guy just said it and ran away. This one, she's at least, hey, I saw this on the news.
That's
the
right.
news doesn't lie.
The news told me I could drive wherever I want. Mm-hmm.
See here, Ossifer, I can drive this anywhere I want because Wolf Blitzer said I can.
Wolf Blitzen and Donner and Blitzen says this is perfectly legal. Mesa Nunez reportedly smelled alcohol emanating from Hawk and noted she allegedly had slurred speech and spoke with a thick tongue. No, that's not a way to judge. Hawk reportedly denied having anything to drink.
Of course.
She's perfectly sober.
This is how I talk. I'm so cool. I talk like this.
The semi-truck driver who stopped along the golf cart, Janessa Caba, told Mesa Nunez she observed the driver of the cart passing out while driving.
I'm just going to take a quick...
I was just saying a nap. It's very, very hard to stare. It's very tiring. Caba said she used her semi-truck to guide the golf cart off the road. She reportedly took Hawk's keys away, but Hawk was being combative and argumentative and then tried driving on the freeway again. Mesa Nunez guided Hawk to the patrol car, but she reportedly resisted several times, saying she needed her bag before going in the vehicle.
She got to look good going to jail.
Well, yeah. Mesa Nunez got Hawk's bag and reportedly found an open bottle of Jack Daniel's Tennessee Fire whiskey.
That's not alcoholic.
No, it's a non-alcoholic version. I found it in Walmart.
It's not on the news. They make non-alcoholic Jack Daniels.
Mm-hmm. Mesa Nunez read Hawk her Miranda rights, but Hawk allegedly refused to talk to Mesa Nunez and started to physically resist arrest after multiple attempts were made for her to comply. Hawk was booked into the Brevard County Jail on July 31st at the ripe old hour of 12:33 a.m. on charges of disorderly intoxication and resisting arrest on an officer without violence. She was released on bond the same day at 10:45 p.m.
It's great. My dad used to tell me stories, and when they'd lock somebody up in the drunk tank and they were like that drunk, he said it was amazing when they had that moment where they wake up and they go, "Where the hell am I?" I said, "What'd you guys do?" He's like, "After a while, you just mess with them."
Oh, yeah. Just
if it's not a serious crime, you can just mess with them.
No.
It's just, like this. You just mess with them.
Boy, did you really tear it up last night.
You met the Flash. You don't remember?
You met the Flash. He ran right beside your cart the entire time. It was amazing. Boy, have I got a story for you, Bruiser.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people think I don't like cats. And that's not true. In fact, I hold them in high regard. I don't think cats should be pets. I think cats should be set loose on the general population and let them be what they've been meant to be all along in this society, Bruiser. They were meant to be vigilantes.
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
There is I forget what country just banned cats now because they kill so many birds.
Well, I didn't mean like that. I meant like...
No, I think that you need cats because it controls your rodent population. Unless you're my cat. My cat's terrified of everything.
Well, maybe your cat wasn't meant to fight crime, but, there's a lot
my
of...
cat's not meant to fight it. There was one time where Mrs. Bruiser was in the basement of our old place, and I heard a loud scream. And I went downstairs, like, oh, my God, what's the matter? And she goes, a mouse. And I look, and she's standing on a chair. And I go, where's the cat? And she moved her foot, and the cat was sitting right next to her on the chair because he jumped up on the chair, too.
Well, all right. Not every cat's meant to fight crime, or mice, or even ticks. I don't know.
So I think if a burglar came in, he would probably just show him all the goods and help him out.
Here, let me take you on a tour of the house.
Oh, hi, guys. You're not my sister Ziggy, so let me show you everything that you can take.
Here's the fine china. Here's where they keep the valuables. By the way, the combination to the safe is...
Yep.
Well, it turns out we go to Mississippi here, Bruiser. There's a hero cat in Mississippi. Okay. A hero cat that is leading example for all the other hero cats out there to become vigilantes. This hero cat helped prevent a robbery and possibly even saved a man's life.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
See, on that, I wish my cat would do that.
That's right.
My cat would probably fart, make a funny face, and walk away.
Well, sometimes that can save your life.
That's true. His gas is bad.
Yeah. See, you just knock the burglar out with a little bit of cat gas. I almost said that wrong. Cat gas. And there you go.
I've had it where at night Ziggy will be in her crate, which is at the foot of our bed, and Bruiser likes to lay next to us. And between Mrs. Bruiser, Bruiser the cat, and Ziggy, they're just having trumpets going all night long. I don't know what the worst is. Because I'm the last to fall asleep, of course.
So, and Mrs. Bruiser shakes her head no in the background. So I think we might be getting a different version of that story from behind your head. So you're saying you want a gas mask for Christmas?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I want my cat to be a hero like this cat.
Oh, I see. Okay. Calico Cat came to its owner's rescue in the middle of the night.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Cats are known to bring comfort, companionship, and kindness. Well, not always the latter, but if you really know those cats. But few pet cats, as particular, finicky, and independent as many of them can be, can also be branded a hero for helping to prevent a house robbery and for possibly even saving a life. A man in Belden, Mississippi, reported that his cat, Bandit, just like the dog on Johnny Quest, but not really. Yeah. Did all of this and perhaps more last month. Bandit is a 20-pound calico cat.
That is a huge cat.
Yeah, it is. That's one big pussy boy, I tell you that.
That is a huge cat. That's a lot of pussy.
That is. She lives with her owner, 68-year-old Fred Everett, a retired oral and maxillofacial surgeon in the Tupelo suburb of Belden.
So wait, is he a dentist or a plastic surgeon?
Maxillofacial surgeon. I don't know.
Because maxilla is your jaw.
Yeah. He does both.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's how you make the money, man.
I guess so.
You do more than one. He just looks like...
Explains why his cat's 20 pounds. He can afford it.
Well, yeah, he's feeding that thing anything that moves.
Yeah.
Here,
and it's paying him back by saving his life.
How big this goddamn cat is. Look at this.
Oh, jeez.
It takes up half the table.
I was going to say, my Bruiser is 10... I have his card right here. It's 10.7 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That cat is twice the size of him, and he's a big cat. That's a huge cat. That's a lion.
This cat is as big as the doctor's torso.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's that big.
Yeah. That's a big, big cat.
Yeah.
Beautiful coat, though.
Yeah. When at least two people tried to break into the family's home last week, the cat did everything she could to alert Everett to the danger, he told the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. The cat apparently raced into the bedroom and jumped onto the bed.
Okay.
Which, by the way, a 20-pound cat jumping into your bed is like launching a cannonball into your bed.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily stop right away. If they want to run into you, they're going to run into you.
Oh, yeah. You could break a bone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With a 20-pound cat.
And that cat was round, too, the way it was sitting. That's a big cat.
Yeah. Everett says, you hear a guard dogs? This is a guard cat. The attempted crime occurred sometime between 2:30 a.m. and 3 a.m. on July 25th, Everett said. First, Bandit's guttural meowing in the kitchen awakened Everett. That's great English, Tim. Then the cat apparently raced into his bedroom, jumped onto the bed, and began pulling the comforter off Everett and clawing at his arms. Everett knew that something had to be very, very wrong indeed. She had never done that before, Everett said, as he told the Daily Journal and the AP. He said he thought, "What in the world is wrong with you?" Everett related that he got up, put on his robe, and walked down the hall to investigate. When he turned on a light, he saw two young men standing outside his back door.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. One had a handgun, while the other was using a crowbar to try and pry the back door off his house open.
Oh, so they weren't even in the house yet, and the cat realized. Good for that cat.
Yeah. Cat was alarmed, so to speak.
Yeah, cat was on the ball.
Yeah. Everett said by the time he retrieved a handgun of his own and returned to the kitchen, the would-be intruders had already fled.
They just got bored because they couldn't get the door open.
Either that or they saw the old man and went, ooh.
Ooh, okay, someone's awake.
Yep. Everett did not call the police, he told the publication. He said the situation could have been much different without Bandit. While he thought he was saving her life, and possibly he did, it seems that she in turn may have helped save his. I
was going to say, she did all the work. He just showed up and flipped on the light and waved at the burglars and went and got his gun. Like, she did all the work.
Yeah, exactly. It did not turn into a confrontational situation, thank goodness, Everett said, but I think it's only because of the cat. Everett adopted his cat Bandit from the Tupelo Lee Humane Society 4 years ago. While he thought he was saving her life, and possibly he did, it seems that she in turn now may have helped save his. The Tupelo Lee Humane Society is a no-kill shelter, by the way. On its website, it states that its mission is to promote humane treatment, prevent cruelty, provide education, and end pet overpopulation. The next time anyone thinks of cats as troublesome, aloof, or particular, remember that they can be guardians too. So there you go.
Bravo. They need to put on there, they also raise superheroes on their website.
That's right. They raise superheroes, and it turns out that that Bandit just earned his keep for one night.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do it again.
I always yell at my animals, like, come on, I'm feeding you, do something.
Do something. Dance for me.
Well, especially like there's bugs or something. You're like, eat the bug. That's what you guys are here for. No. Ziggy will play with it. Bruiser will just kind of look and then walk away like he's bored. Unless it's a bigger bug, then he's terrified.
Oh, not good.
Yeah.
Got to get him trained, man. Got to get him trained.
He's too old now.
It's never too. You're never too old, right, to learn new tricks? That's supposedly the saying.
He is.
Okay. He
is funny though, because he will talk. Like, if he's behind a glass and there's the chipmunks in our yard or the squirrels, he will talk shit to them. But as soon as you bring him outside, he won't leave your arms. He's like, oh, no, now I'm here. Like, just no glass.
No, I'm not saying anything now. They might actually approach me.
Squirrels are like, all right, hey, you're the badass, huh?
So you had a lot to say behind that glass. We're to the food portion of the program.
All right.
Yeah, we love this part of the program. This next couple of stories, we're talking food, of course, and we're talking about the potential criminality of food and how you can get in trouble over food.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Other than stealing it, I don't know how you can get in trouble. Or poisoning it. I don't know how you can get in trouble over food.
Food can cause riots, my friend.
I knew that, yes. Yeah. Yes. Especially when there's a shortage.
Food can make a man do strange things.
This is true, too.
Yep.
This is true, too.
In fact, that's where we're going with this first story. Food can make a man want to try to make a lot of money by stealing food and trying to resell it.
Yeah, I can't do that.
No, you can't. In fact, a couple of men in Florida tried to steal $1.3 million worth of seafood.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. They were caught after the seafood supplier got suspicious.
Yeah, that's a lot of seafood.
Turns out 3 South Florida men are accused of stealing $1.3 million in seafood by pretending they were a buyer from a supermarket. Renee Hecavaria Ekemend, who is 33 years old, 36-year-old Ernesto Aguilera Bote, and Jose Luis Batista Suarez, who's 40, are accused of carrying out a scheme in which the fake buyer, using the name Brian Gomez, placed seafood orders supposedly on behalf of a supermarket and picked them up at a warehouse. But the seafood supplier got suspicious after contacting the supermarket in question and being told no one by that name worked for them. That according to the Miami Herald. Authorities ultimately used surveillance cameras to catch the men, they say. The men face 7 counts of Grand Theft Cargo, which is a brand new video game we're coming out with, of over $50,000 and 7 counts of obtaining property over $5,000.
See, their first mistake was ordering $1.5 million worth of seafood. There's no supermarket spending that much money on seafood.
No, there's not. There's not. But yeah, I mean, imagine that going to a seafood dealer and just loading up. I mean, like on stone crab claws and on lobsters and.
I'm curious what their plan was. Like, were they going to resell it, or was it for themselves? Were they just planning on like a giant fiesta? Like, what was going on here?
Oh, I'm sure that part of it was turning around and reselling it because you're getting it for free, essentially. Then you take it, and you know how you always have those seafood guys who sell stuff out of vans?
Yeah, which worries me because that's right by my parents' house. My parents live right outside Phoenix.
Yeah.
And on Highway 10 there, it's nothing but desert. But there's a guy with a van that says fresh seafood.
Yep.
I don't know what ocean he's getting it from.
That's the joke, right? You don't know what ocean they're getting it from. A lot of times they're getting them from distributors. They're turning around and selling them, you know. Yeah.
And you know it's a good seafood place. My dad swears by it because it's a hand-painted sign and lobster spelled wrong.
Yeah, and lobster spelled wrong. Yeah, it's lobster, A-H. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. That's right, Ziggy. Ziggy agrees. It's lobster with an A-H. This is the thing that's going to get people rioting. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Again, we're gonna stay in the Florida area because you know this is coming out of Florida. I know you're going to say, well, Tim, that's a stereotype. You shouldn't say that. No, really, this is coming out of Florida. Cracker Barrel has a new sausage.
I've heard this, and I think this is the dumbest reason because I obviously being at the underwater Needle Point, one of the favorite places we like to stop on the road is Cracker Barrel because it's real close to home cooked meals. And so obviously I follow Cracker Barrel and stuff. And the other day it was hashtag cancel Cracker Barrel because of this reason. And I think it's the stupidest reason in the world.
You almost made me choke when you said that. Cancel Cracker Barrel over a sausage. And here's why, folks. We're going to tell you why. This new sausage is causing a...
so Midwest. Hey, this new sausage you got here.
New sausage, I'm going Illinois on it, is creating an online ruckus. The chain's ad promoting plant-based Impossible brand is generating backlash from customers. Now, you would think that's the stupidest reason to get people, people's undies in a bunch. But here's the deal. It should be innocuous enough to just have a new meat frontier, right? A plant-based sausage.
Yeah.
It's just one more choice.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's not like they're the first people to do this.
Right.
A lot of places now are accepting the vegan lifestyle on their menus, and they're changing one. I know of a restaurant, Mrs. Bruiser Fun, where they have their complete menu for regular, and then they have a complete vegan menu that actually mimics the original menu.
Right.
Yeah, like the chef went through and found the vegan alternative for everything he has on his menu. So you can go there and you can eat either one. Right.
But people get so wound up about something that, now keep in mind, Cracker Barrel has some of the best damn sausage on the planet.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The regular pork sausage, amazing.
Yep.
Even the turkey sausage is amazing.
I agree.
Okay.
No arguments here. I have not had a bad meal there yet.
Right. So when you hear Impossible sausage made from plants, next time you build your own breakfast, it's not even thrown into like Mama's pancake breakfast or Grandma's French toast or whatever they do there, right?
It's an option, just like loading your mashed potatoes or loading your tater tot hash brown casserole.
Exactly.
It's an option.
You have to pick it.
Yeah.
You have to pick it. You have to say that you want it. Okay.
Yep.
So the accompanying photo shows 2 freshly cooked patties plated alongside scrambled eggs and hash browns with a tiny Impossible flag planted squarely in one of the faux sausage rounds, right? That succinct ad, however, has plunged Cracker Barrel into what NBC News calls a culture war, which is ridiculous, with critics accusing the eatery of entering overly politically correct territory and others rolling their eyes at the backlash.
Yeah, this is... I'm rolling my eyes at this backlash.
Check this out. Check this out, Bruiser. The Washington Post pulls out some of the more conservative ideological takes, including one commenter who wrote, "Oh noes, the Cracker Barrel has gone woke." Said another...
That's a great headline.
That is. Said another, "I just lost respect for a once great Tennessee company." Another chimed in with, "Bad choice. Do your research."
What is that supposed to mean?
Right. Others didn't get political, but simply didn't want meat alternatives over their favorite breakfast sausage. If I wanted a salad, I would in fact order a salad. Stop with the plant-based meat crap.
If you wanted a Impossible sausage, you'd order an Impossible sausage. So get over the fact that they have it as an alternative.
Yeah, it's just an alternative. Simple. That's all it is. These remarks received their own pushback, with one commenter thanking the chain for understanding the direction the world is going. Another person noted, imagine getting upset because a menu option exists at a restaurant, which is exactly what it is. Still others commented on all the comments generated by this menu edition. This comment section is further proof we need to get more people into therapy for anger issues, one observer noted, per NBC.
We need to take the internet away from people because people are getting comfortable and making comments on everything with no consequences.
That's true. That is true.
Like, if they would stop and think like an executive at Cracker Barrel, they'll be like, hey, look, our sales are up. We're getting a good amount of people, but we're missing this. Why? Oh, those are vegans.
Yeah.
They don't eat what we have. 90% of our menu they don't eat. Well, what can we do to get them in our restaurant? Well, we've heard of this Impossible sausage. All right, put it on the menu. Let's see.
Or simply think of it this way. You're offering a family experience. You don't want to leave anybody in the family out.
For a country that really doesn't want to alienate people, we sure do alienate a lot of people.
We do. Yeah, that's for sure.
Like the woke thing is you're supposed to accept everybody, yet the people that are commenting on this are alienating the people that want to eat that food. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, think of it this way. Okay, so if you have older people who are, and maybe I'm stereotyping here, but you probably have older people who are complaining about an Impossible sausage. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you may have a grandchild who's deciding that they want to eat vegan. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe you want your grandchild to come to breakfast with you, and they don't have anything and maybe they don't want to go to Cracker Barrel because they don't have anything really that they want to sit and eat, or they want to nitpick and they want to choose different things.
Yep.
Because it fits their eating style. Well, now you have another choice. You know what? Your grandchild's probably going to come to breakfast with you because there's a choice.
If you look at menus, they put on their asterisks is that if it's cooked in peanut oil or if you're allergic to eggs, the allergy thing.
Yeah.
Somebody might be allergic to something that's in their breakfast sausage, and this is an alternative that tastes the same as their breakfast sausage but doesn't have the allergens in it. Mm-hmm. So like you said, you're thinking of everybody here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just including more people in on the party. I don't know what the big deal is.
It's just people want to complain. I'm sure you could put a picture of a yellow square and say there's a bumblebee in here, and people argue left and right that there's no bumblebee in there.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I bring this story up to set up our next story, which I always have a method to my madness. I bring up the rage behind a faux sausage for another reason, but I'll finish this off here real quick. That's what she said. At Cracker Barrel, we're always exploring opportunities to expand how our guests experience breakfast and provide choices to satisfy every taste bud, is how Cracker Barrel wrapped this up in a statement. They did say, we appreciate the love our fans have for our all-day breakfast menu. And they wrapped it up very nicely. They basically came at it with an inclusionary statement, which is just that, you know what, we're offering more choices. We want everybody at our table, which is a wonderful thing. That's a great way to put it. We want everybody at our table.
Better than if I was the CEO. Just said piss off and enjoy our food.
Which is another way of putting it, right? But, rage over food is such a dumb thing at times, because it's the most easily fixable thing.
Yeah. It
really is. My steak isn't to my liking. Send it back.
Exactly.
Or can we fix this? Nope. It's not even worth getting mad over. It's just, you know what? This is looking a little rough. Can we fix this?
Yeah.
Not worth getting mad over. You know what? Ooh, you know what? I didn't order fries with this. I had ordered this. Can we get this switched up? Sure. Not, I didn't order effing fries with this.
Yeah.
You know, not a reason to raise your voice. We just see way too much rage over nothing.
Yeah,
over
food.
Nothing.
I'm not a tomato fan, so I'll ask for no tomatoes on sandwiches. And there's times where the tomato comes on.
Yeah.
It happens. People make mistakes. We're humans.
I don't eat a lot of lettuce. It's not because I'm not a fan of greens or anything. It runs right through me. I mean, too much information, right? But I save my lettuce consumption for salads, right? And when I eat those salads, I pay for it. But I know when I measure it out for when I'm going to pay for it. So we come up to this next story, which again,
it's about food.
It's about food, and it's about rage over food.
Yeah.
Why? Okay. Here's the headline. Her McDonald's fries were cold. It allegedly sparked a shooting.
Oh, come on. That is...
Cold fries.
Yeah.
Right? A 23-year-old New York man is in critical condition over it. A 23-year-old McDonald's employee is in critical condition after he was shot in what witnesses say was a dispute stemming from an order of fries. Sources tell CBS 2 a female customer approached the victim, Matthew Webb, to complain about the fries being cold and that the dispute somehow moved outside the Brooklyn fast food restaurant. The woman was apparently on a video call with her son, 20-year-old Michael Morgan, who either overheard the dispute and decided to come intervene or was called by his mother to the scene. When he arrived, Morgan allegedly shot Webb in the neck.
Wait, so his mom called him to complain, and his idea was, well, I'm just going to go shoot that guy. He won't give my mom hot fries. I'm just going to shoot him.
Yeah. My mom doesn't get hot fries. Someone's got to die.
I was in a McDonald's once, and I watched a guy sneeze on fries, and they tried to serve him. I says, no, I'm good. Give me a different order.
Yeah.
Didn't shoot him in the neck. Didn't call someone to say, hey, come shoot this guy.
Yeah. The New York Daily News reports that Webb is fighting for his life in a hospital, and Morgan has been arrested with charges pending. No charges were immediately filed against his mother, with whom he lives at a residence about 4 blocks from the McDonald's. This is just the latest in a series of attacks on food workers. A delivery person was killed in April in a dispute involving duck sauce. That's right, I said duck sauce.
A dispute over duck sauce, okay.
Yeah. And some fast food employees who spoke to CBS 2 say they are apprehensive about working in this environment, especially at night. A woman upset about the wait time shot into a Burger King drive-thru window recently. So
that's not going to make your visit any faster.
No, it's not going to
slow you down.
Not going to make the wait. Yeah, especially when they close down for the cops to come.
Yeah.
You know, people wonder why there's less and less fast food workers.
Because their job's at risk. If the fries are cold, they're afraid they're going to get shot.
Yeah.
It used to be you'd pull up, you'd order a shake, and you'll fire in the hall, throw the shake through the drive-thru. Okay, haha, that's great. Yelling fire in the hall and opening fire in a drive-thru is not funny. It's not good and shouldn't be done.
Right.
People just need to accept it. Orders get screwed up. People are human. Just talk about it. And I know when they get to the fast food and they're already having a shitty day, they're just going to take it out on whoever's in front of them. But you got to remember, those are just they don't make the policies and everything. You know what I mean? Like, they just work there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. 3 stories left here on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. The first 2 are celebrity edition. We got 2 celebrity stories this week. You might have heard about what happened to Anne Heche last week.
She had a little bit of an accident.
More than that. She
had a couple accidents and then decided to start on fire.
She was in critical condition the last we checked. Anne Heche wasn't doing real well at the crash scene. Family of the 53-year-old actor is asking for privacy as the LAPD is now investigating that crash. There's a witness account from the scene as well in this updated story. Anne Heche remains in intensive care after she crashed her car into a house in L.A. on Friday and set off a fire. People magazine is confirming that the 53-year-old actor is intubated after suffering burns. No one else was injured in the 11 a.m. crash in LA's Mar Vista neighborhood. The family released a statement that said Anne is currently in stable condition. That according to Heather Duffy Boylston, Haish's friend and podcast partner. Her family and friends ask for your thoughts and prayers and to respect her privacy during this difficult time. Now, the injuries add up to this. Multiple stories about the crash agree on one thing, that Haish was seriously injured. A quote at CNN says that from a source described as close to Haish, put it this way. Anne is in the ICU. She's lucky to be alive. She has severe burns, has a long recovery ahead. Her team and her family are still trying to process what led up to the crash. So what exactly happened on Friday? Well, the LAPD says Haish's Mini Cooper was traveling at a high rate of speed on a residential street when it came to an intersection, possibly hit a curb, and then careened into the two-story home. That according to NBC LA. Police are also investigating whether Haish was involved in another accident shortly before that one. TMZ reported that she allegedly crashed into a garage but left the scene, like Bruiser was saying. It looked like there was more than one accident that happened that day. There is a witness, Lynn Bernstein, who lives near the crash site, tells people that he and other neighbors spoke with Haish as she was trapped inside her car, which he says went almost entirely through the home.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. One asked her to raise her hand or something if she was okay, and she said she couldn't. She told them she wasn't doing real well, though they tried to free her from the car, but were unable to do so amid the heavy smoke and flames. The crash is drawing attention to Haish's previous mental health struggles, which she wrote about in a 2001 memoir called Call Me Crazy. This is deeply sad, tweeted writer Steve Huff per NPR. She's been pretty open about her mental health challenges, but as anyone who has loved ones suffering from certain disorders knows, there are many people who never treat their illness appropriately for very long. Haish has also recounted the unwelcome scrutiny she endured when she dated Ellen DeGeneres from 1997 to 2000. Soon after they broke up, she was hospitalized after knocking on a stranger's door and speaking incoherently. Haish, who rose to fame in the 1990s with such films as Donnie Brasco, Volcano, and Return to Paradise, was busy as of late. People ticks off recent projects as she's done. She finished shooting Lifetime's Girl in Room 13 in June. She'll star with Dermot Mulroney in the upcoming thriller Full Ride, and has roles in All Rise on OWN and Idol on HBO. So she has been busy and has been working. And of course, she has that podcast. So we wish her the best and hope that she makes a speedy recovery, but it sounds like she's significantly injured after those crashes.
Yeah, it's bad. I'm glad nobody else was hurt, especially since there was a possible second collision.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and hopefully it was because some people are saying she was intoxicated and all that, but they're also going back to it could have been her medication for her mental illness. Something could have happened there. You don't know. You don't know until everything comes back. I just hope she pulls through.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, now on to the most unusual dumb criminal of them all, who's received a lucky break, but he's been arrested again. Thank God. Thank God. I'm talking about the guy who shot Lady Gaga's dog walker.
Oh yeah, like and he stole her dogs, right?
Yeah,
like he shot the dog walker and kidnapped the two French bulldogs, which I didn't know French bulldogs are as expensive as they are.
Oh yes, yeah.
They are really expensive. Yeah.
The man accused of stealing Lady Gaga's dogs has been arrested yet again. 19-year-old James Howard Jackson was mistakenly released from custody in April. Which, how this happens, no idea.
You ready? You ready to go? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, you're free to go.
All right.
Are you sure? And then he gets on the phone. Hey, man, it's got released. It's not supposed to get released for a few more years.
The man charged with stealing Lady Gaga's dogs and shooting her dog walker has been recaptured after he was accidentally released from custody in April. Authorities blame a clerical error for the release of James Howard Jackson while awaiting trial. He was rearrested on Wednesday, this past Wednesday. The original story is this. Authorities were upping the ante in the hunt for the man accused for shooting Lady Gaga's dog walker last week when 19-year-old James Howard Jackson was mistakenly released from custody in April after being indicted on robbery and attempted murder charges following the February 2021 attack on Ryan Fisher, who was shot in the chest while walking the pop singer's 3 French bulldogs. On Monday, it says here, this is the original story, by the way, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Major Crime Team announced it had recruited the U.S. Marshal Service to help track down Jackson, with the latter offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to Jackson's capture. Jackson should be considered armed and dangerous. Well, no doubt he's shooting dog walkers.
Yeah. I like how they're like, we screwed up. we put a decimal point where there shouldn't have been a decimal point. Please keep a lookout for this guy.
Yeah. He should be considered armed and dangerous, the Marshal Service said in a release, calling for anyone with information on him to reach out ASAP to law enforcement. Jackson was found competent to stand trial in April, and he was indicted on April 6th. However, his arraignment led to a new case number, and shortly after that, he was released from custody by the Sheriff's Department, according to a Los Angeles County DA's office spokesperson. We're unsure.
See? Decimal point went in the wrong area.
That's right. We're unsure as to why they did so, that rep told the LA Times at the time. Fisher, meanwhile, has made a public plea to Jackson to turn himself in. Like we said, he has been captured. I asked for Mr. Jackson to turn himself over to the authorities, blah, 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 blah. They give his stats there. It's the 2 other men, 19-year-old Jalen White and 27-year-old Lafayette Whaley, have also been hit with robbery and attempted murder charges in the case, though it was Jackson who allegedly pulled the trigger using a .40 caliber handgun. 2 others.
That's a big gun.
Yeah, it is. 2 others have also been charged, accused of being accessories after the fact. And like you mentioned, Bruiser, French bulldogs are expensive.
Yeah, I didn't know that till this case.
Yeah.
I don't know why they issued a new case number. That blows my mind. Usually, if you have the same case number, just different. They just add charges.
Yeah, that's for sure. This just in, like literally as we're sitting here, I had one more story to go, but this just came over my my desk here. The Flash star Ezra Miller's been charged with felony burglary in Vermont.
Really? They caught up to him, huh?
Yeah.
His cult?
Ezra,
it was a few weeks ago you had the story about how he had that young girl with him that he's brainwashing and stuff. And I guess the rumor I heard is he walks around with a bulletproof vest and a bunch of guns. Yeah.
Ezra Miller, the embattled star of Warner Brothers' The Flash movie, which is yet to be released, has been charged with felony burglary in Stamford, Vermont, according to a Vermont State Police report. According to the police report, Vermont State Police were notified of a burglary complaint from a residence in Stamford at 5:55 p.m. on May 1st. Police found that several bottles of alcohol were taken from the residence while the homeowners were not present. After collecting statements and looking at surveillance videos, police found probable cause to charge Miller with felony burglary into an unoccupied dwelling. Police located Miller on August 7th at 11:23 p.m. and issued them a citation to appear in Vermont Superior Court on September 26th for arraignment. According to a Rolling Stone investigation in June, Miller has been housing a 25-year-old mother and her 3 children who are between the ages of 1 and 5 at the actor's home ranch in Stamford, Vermont. The property doubles as an unlicensed cannabis farm and has several firearms on the premises. According to the report, one source who spoke to Rolling Stone alleged that the 1-year-old child was found with a loose bullet in their mouth.
Oh, geez.
It's unclear whether the Stamford properties are one and the same. This is the latest controversy to befall Miller, who has been at the center of scandals for the better part of a year. They were arrested twice in Hawaii this spring, once for disorderly conduct and harassment, and once more for second-degree assault. Miller is facing several allegations of abuse from different women around the world, including choking a woman in an Icelandic bar and harassing another woman in her home in Berlin. Throughout Miller's arrests and controversies, the question of whether or not the solo Flash movie will be canceled or released in theaters next year has persisted. Last week, however, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav reiterated that The Flash is still a go, saying, "We have seen The Flash, Black Adam, and Shazam 2. We are very excited about them. We've seen them. We think they're terrific, and we think we can make them even better." After several delays, The Flash is currently set to hit theaters June 23rd, 2023. Variety has reached out to Miller's representatives for comment.
I don't think that movie makes the light of day.
You don't think so?
Because it's going to cost too much to bring in a new star to reshoot it. And I don't think this is the end of him acting out. You know what I mean? I think Ziggy disagrees. I think Ziggy thinks that this movie makes it. Oh, she's a big Flash fan. You can hear her running around right now. She loves Flash.
She's running circles right now saying, nope, this movie comes out.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
Huh.
I'm on the line. I'd like it to. I'm a fan of the Flash, but I just, with his actions, and like I said, it's going to cost too much to reshoot the movie with a new actor. But let's say they do reshoot it. Just the Flash stuff. That brings up that whole... The Ezra movie cut is out there somewhere, and people are going to try and find it.
That's exactly what happens.
Like the Star Wars, have you heard the non-James Earl Jones version of Star Wars?
Oh, God, with David Prowse? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's a joke. David Prowse sounds like Mickey Mouse.
But it's just one of those, for fans like us, that's one of those hidden gems, those Easter eggs that we're always looking for. And if they hire a new guy for this movie, people are going to go look for the Ezra Miller cut. But I don't think it gets released. I think he's got too much going on. And more is going to come out about him. Watch. He's on the decline.
I think it's too late, though. I think you're just too late as far as...
They spent $90 million on Batgirl, and they canceled it because they said it's the shits.
No. That's not why they canceled it. They canceled Batgirl because of a tax break.
Okay.
It was a tax break that led them to... They canceled that and the new movie Scoob both together because Warner Brothers Discovery could get a tax break by canceling both movies and not releasing them, just by shelving them.
Really?
Yeah, they got a tax break for both of those.
Well, maybe they pulled Batgirl out and put Flash in its place.
I don't think it'd be ready by then. It's almost essentially ready, but it's not ready.
Right.
Yeah.
They're both almost, because Batgirl was in post-production, wasn't it?
Yes. Batgirl was essentially ready.
Yeah, because they're releasing, like, the studio's releasing images of, like, Brendan Fraser as Firefly, Michael Keaton in the bat suit.
Yep.
Yep. So who knows? I predict in 2023, Batgirl hits the movies, Flash is shelved. That's what I think.
See, I don't think Batgirl can come out now. Now that they've taken the tax break, I think it's permanently shelved.
It's done. Okay.
It's done.
I think Flash is done. I don't think they'll release it. Which is sad because the TV show had such great success. I don't know why they don't bring him on and reshoot the Ezra Miller stuff,
I just think there's too much. I
agree.
Yeah,
it's a solo
you'd have to
film,
make
right?
a whole
The
new
Flash is
movie.
a solo film. It's not the team film.
It's a solo film, and it has to do with I forget the name of the storyline, but
Flashpoint.
I
just remembered that's supposed to be the beginning of Flashpoint, so it does need to start because the whole second half of the DCU.
Yep.
DCEU is Flashpoint because that's where they got Thomas Wayne's making an appearance as Batman, and it's going to be Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He's already signed on for it.
Yep. So you can't, but
you can't. You have to reshoot. If you don't like him, you're going to have to reshoot, and that's going to be too expensive.
Yeah, you can't do it. Can't do it. So Grant Gustin can come in next film somehow.
Yeah.
And you can, you just consciously make that change next film, but you can't do it for this one.
Sad because this kid was good as a Flash.
Yeah, but
I haven't seen him in anything else. But as a Flash, he was good.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. I know Ziggy's running around there somewhere, but you got to put the earmuffs on Ziggy for this last story. This one is a not safe for work story in NSFW. We'll give you a second to put earmuffs not only on kids but dogs as well. This one is going to offend both. So we'll give
I
you
got
just
her all taken care of.
Okay, so you got the earmuffs on her. She's not going to want to hear this.
She's not going to want to hear. I told her she won't want to hear it.
Yeah,
she's up on the couch, looking at me like an idiot.
Okay, good. All right. All right. Here we go. Last story for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. A woman has blamed a curious dog in a pet sex case. You'd never blame the dog. Never blame the dog. Dogs don't know what they're doing.
This goes along the lines of I mean, I'll let you read the story, but I always obviously there's fetishes in the world. That's the world. But never have I looked at one of my pets and went, "Hey, how you doing this morning?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it never crossed my mind. Yeah. So it blows my mind when stories like this come up.
A couple of Floridians busted for sex acts with their male husky named Loki.
That trickster.
Yeah, exactly. Loki the trickster. God of the dictum. The Florida woman charged with receiving oral sex from her dog confessed to the crime and told cops that the male husky named Loki was just being curious.
No, he wasn't. You probably put something there.
Felony complaint. Yeah, I'm sure there was. I'm sure the barrel was loaded, so to speak.
Yeah.
36-year-old Christina Colello and 39-year-old Jeffrey Springer, bunch of dirty bastards, were arrested Tuesday and charged with sexual activity involving animals, which is a felony. Yeah. Police identified Springer as Colello's former boyfriend. He should be a former. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that happens. Sorry, we're not together.
No, we're not. Investigators say they recently recovered a video shot by Springer showing the animal performing oral sex on his ex-girlfriend.
What's the point of the video? I don't get it.
I don't either.
I just don't get it.
The video was stored on a flash drive in a folder titled XXX Sex Videos Loki. Oh, so they didn't even hide it.
Nope.
Jeez.
They were hoping people saw it and went, "Oh, this is the parody of Loki, the TV show." No, it's not.
The recording was made in May and June of 2022, according to a complaint that does not reveal how police obtained Springer's personal USB drive. I think they probably just walked in and got it. Springer identified Colello as the woman in the video, or it could be Kaleo. That's probably Kaleo. As the woman in the video, according to the cops who noted that both Kaleo and the woman in the clip have a heart-shaped tattoo on her hip area.
Oh, okay.
So they match up.
Gave it away.
Yep. Additionally, Springer said Kaleo has engaged in 30 to 50 sexual acts with the dog in a time span of 8 years.
That's so wrong. Again, don't get me wrong, Ziggy is a beautiful creature. She's got a beautiful coat. She's my best friend in the whole world, but never once have I opened my eyes and went, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see where this goes." No.
It's just wrong on so many levels.
It is.
After being read her rights, Kaleo reportedly admitted to the dog possibly performing oral sex on her numerous times due to the dog being curious.
No.
When
you put peanut butter down there, the dog's going to lick.
Yeah. Video evidence cops say showed Kaleo not making any motions or gesture to stop the sexual act. Kaleo and Springer were released yesterday from the Pinellas County Jail. Kaleo is free on $5,000 bond, while Springer was released on his own recognizance. The pair reside in separate homes in the Tampa Bay area. Hopefully they'll have adjoining cells. Court filings do not indicate how long Kaleo and Springer were a couple or when they broke up. Kaleo was arrested in May for allegedly hitting, scratching, and biting Springer during an argument in her Safety Harbor apartment. Prosecutors subsequently declined to pursue a misdemeanor domestic battery case against Kaleo. Loki was seized by police and taken to a pet hospital where an examination showed no signs of injury to the canine. So thank God for that.
Yeah, good. Hopefully they find him a good home.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Assaulted.
That is Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for another week. Sorry we added it on that note, but That's it.
Don't have sex with your pets, please.
Yes, exactly. Leave them alone. Leave them alone.
Yeah. You can pet them. You can run with them.
Feed them treats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day, Mrs. Bruiser comes in with a brand new toy for Ziggy, so you can do that.
Yep.
There's so many other things you can do that are fun with pets.
Go throw them a ball out in the yard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, let them talk shit to the chipmunks out there.
Yeah. Then take them out and watch them jump in your arms.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all good. Let's see here. What's going on tomorrow? Supernatural news and Parashare. Yeah, I believe we might have a Parashare letter. We might have 2 tomorrow. By the way, get your Parashare letters into me while you can. It's tim@darknessradio.com, your Parashare experiences. Have you met Bigfoot? Have you been on a little bit of a walkabout around the forest with him? We want to hear about it. Have you been abducted by aliens? Well, by gosh, don't report it to MUFON. We want to hear about it first. tim@darknessradio.com. Have you had an experience with a ghost? Have you been ghost hunting lately? Have you been out having an experience with a shadow person? We want to hear about it first. tim@darknessradio.com. Send us a paragraph or 2 about their experience. We want to hear about it. tim@darknessradio.com. We'll read it here on Parashare. We'll even weigh in on it if you want us to ask us a question about your experience or just ask us what we think, and we'll let you know. So yeah, Supernatural News Parashare coming up tomorrow. So we've got that going on. Bruiser, let people know what's going on in your neck of the woods and with your given profession.
Wednesday night, still training at the AML Training Center in Winston-Salem. And this weekend, Saturday, the 13th, I'm making my return to Springfield, Missouri.
Oh.
For I believe it's MAW. And I'm wrestling a guy I've known for many years. He's the wine connoisseur, Niles Plonks. We're doing the famous feud of which is better, wine versus beer. I'm very, very excited because I haven't been to Missouri in a while. I'm excited to go back and visit, have some barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And just have a good time. New company I'm working for, so I'm real excited and can't wait. So that's going on Saturday.
I think without a question, it's beer.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time this is maybe our 15th, 16th match we've had with these gimmicks. We've known each other for almost 20-some years.
Yeah.
But with these gimmicks, and it's so fun. You get the people into it, and it's just fun.
Yeah. Most
so if you're in the Springfield area, come on out.
Yep.
Saturday, 7:00. Check out my socials for the poster. I'm on it. I'm on a billboard. They have a billboard for the show right on I-70, and someone sent me a picture. Said, "Hey, whose ugly mug is this?" And it's mine. It's huge. It's up there. I showed my wife. I go, "Hey, you say I have a big head. Now it's true."
That is awesome, dude. So there you are on I-70. That's amazing. That's wonderful.
It's only the second billboard I've ever been on. It's exciting.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Want to thank Matt Birkbeck for being on today. The movie is on Netflix, Girl in the Picture. Want to check that out first. That, again, is a 104-minute movie that will give you an overview about the case that we talked about today.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
I just got done watching it this weekend, so then, great movie.
Yeah, after you've read that, then you're going to want to go check out the 2 books that Matt has written about the case, because it's got more insight into the case. You really only get an overview of the entire case having to do with Sharon. And then you're going to want to go read Finding Sharon and a Beautiful Child to get the full scope of the case and really get the background, not only on Sharon, but on Franklin Delano Floyd as well, the killer in this case. So we want to thank Matt Birkbeck for being on today. Also want to thank BetterHelp, our sponsor for today. BetterHelp is, again, the sponsor that brought you this program. And we want to remind you that if you are going through a rough time right now, if you are having one of those times that you need to sit down with a specialist and you need to get advice on maybe a life event that you just can't seem to get through. Maybe it's a death in the family. Maybe it's a relationship that you need to work your way through. Maybe you just need to sit down and talk to somebody about work, or you need to talk to somebody about climbing the corporate ladder. The experts at BetterHelp are there to help you. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online, and it's available to people worldwide. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available for you. BetterHelp is a great way to invest in yourself, and you can do it right now with a special offer for our listeners. You can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/darknessradio. It's 10% off your first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/darknessradio. And we want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring today's show. So that'll do it today for True Crime Tuesday and Dumb Crime Stupid Criminals. We'll join you tomorrow for the best in paranormal talk radio, Darkness Radio. But that'll do it for Beer City Bruiser. I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us for the best in true crime talk radio. This has been True Crime Tuesday.